Verbeek, is there anyone we're waiting for? Meeting of the Alcohol License Review Committee to order at 5:34 p.m. And Joe, can you start us off with the meeting spiel, please?
Sure. Welcome to our virtual meeting. If you lose connection at any point during the meeting, you can reconnect by clicking the link in your original email. Members, if you are able, please activate your video and keep it on for the duration of the meeting. Staff, if you are able, please activate your video when you are speaking. All panelists, that is alders, commission members, and staff have the ability to mute and unmute themselves. Commission members, please continue to use the raise hand feature when you'd like to be recognized to speak, ask questions, or request a roll call vote. Lowering your hand will take you out of the queue. Members of the public who have registered to speak, the name you entered in Zoom must match the name you entered in registration. You will remain muted until called upon. The clerk will tell you when your time is up. After speaking, a member of the body may ask you a question. If you need to share documentation with the body, please send it to the email listed on today's agenda. Chair Donnelly, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Mr. Verbeek, are there any notified absences? Jim, you're muted.
Other than Alder Skidmore saying he would likely not be here, no, there's no additional ones.
Thank you. Will you please call the roll?
Certainly. Skidmore is excused. Alder Revere.
Here.
Alder Revere is here. Cano Espina.
Present.
Karen Reese.
Here.
Karen Reese here. Amy Westra.
Here.
Amy Westra here. Michael Donnelly.
Present.
Grady.
Here.
Alder Carter.
Present.
And Fletcher.
Here.
Chair, we have quorum.
Thank you. First item is the approval of minutes from our meeting on October 21st. Committee, what's your pleasure?
I don't know if this matters, but on the minutes it says that Roger Allen was absent and he actually retired in early August. So
He's going to be absent a lot.
yes.
I'll look at the mayor's office to change that.
Any other corrections? All right, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Move approval.
And second from Mr. Fletcher. Any discussion? Hearing none. Any in opposition indicate by raising your hand. Seeing no opposition, motion passes. Next, do we have anyone registered for public comment?
I saw we did have one, but I think that might just have been an alcohol license applicant who registered the wrong item number, because he is here, I think, for 14, and so I had him register again for that item as well. So I don't believe we do.
That's right. I spoke to him before the meeting. So.
Oh, perfect. That's what I was going to ask. Excellent. So moving right on, disclosures and recusals. Members of the body should make any required disclosures or recusals under the city's ethics code. Are there any?
Mr. Chair, just on the Hilton Garden Inn item, because the parking garage, there's likely to be a shared arrangement with UW system employees. I'm not a parking permit holder or anything like that, but just a disclosure on my end, okay?
Thank you very much. Any other disclosures or recusals? All right, hearing none. Mr. Verbeek, will you please let us know which item numbers will be on the proposed consent agenda for those applicants and others in attendance? These are items that we might decide to dispose of in bulk. We'll read through the list of item numbers first, then members can remove any items that they think bear further discussion. We will vote on it, and then Mr. Verbeek will read the formal list, after which you can take off if your item has been disposed of. Mr. Verbeek.
So the items are recommend to council to grant change of agent item 4, street extension license premise, excuse me, items 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Recommend to council to grant with conditions public hearing item, public hearing new license item number 23, and referral to next month's meeting, public hearing new license item number 12.
Are there any items that people would like to separate from the consent agenda?
Item 23, since it is a new license, unless there's something that Jim knows that we don't know.
I put it on there on the consent agenda with the condition because the alder had recommended that condition. But if the committee as a whole wants to if the LRC wants to talk about it still, I have no other additional information beyond that.
Assistant City Attorney Zillaby, would you like that one separated?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anyone else? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to approve items 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and to refer item 12?
Move approval.
Hear a motion, see a second from Mr. Cano Espina. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor remain silent. Those opposed indicate by raising your hand. Seeing no opposition, motion passes. Mr. Verbeek, will you please read out which items have been disposed of?
Sure. The past consent agenda for LRC meeting November 18th, 2020. Recommend to council to grant item number 4, change of agent, Madison Indoor Golf LLC. Number 5, street extension of licensed premise, Papavero LLC. Number 6, street extension of licensed premise, Bartaco Hilldale LLC. Number 7, street extension of licensed premise, Dumpling House LLC. Number 8, street extension of licensed premise, Alabaster Entertainment LLC. Number 9, street extension of licensed premise, Growl LLC. And refer to December LRC meeting. Item number 12, public hearing new license, KMKF LLC, 521 Cottage Grove Road, Class B combination liquor and beer.
Thank you, Mr. Verbeek. So we are moving right along to item 2, operator's license application for Ralanda Lynch. Do we have the applicant here?
Yes.
All right. And Captain Donahue, will you kick this off, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. All right. When an applicant applies for a liquor license, there's a background investigation that is done and a series of guidelines that are reviewed during that background investigation. It appears as though there were some items that may have been left off of your application related to previous charges. What was listed on your application was a third offense OWI that was pending from earlier in 2020, and the items that were not included, there were 2 different OWIs from earlier in 2020, both of which were listed as a third offense because they were both pending Generally, if one is found to be a conviction, then that would change the offense of the other. One was in April of 2020, the other was in July of 2020. The items that were not listed on your application were an OWI or a DUI, it appears to be in Illinois from 2015, which was a conviction, an OWI in Indiana, that was a conviction, and from 2014 in the state of Wisconsin, carry concealed weapon, violating absolute sobriety, operating without a license, and those were also a conviction. And then I would also add, it appears as though there are other alcohol-related offenses that may be pending that are not on this application. So if you could speak to first the items that I listed that were not on your application and the reason that they were omitted or not included.
I can speak now?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I'm sorry. The one in 2015 and 14, I believe they was really old, so I had forgot all about them. Sorry about that. And the ones in 2020, that was way before I had applied for my liquor license in February.
Okay, those were the ones from 2020 were actually, those were included on your application. And then, so the OWI and in Indiana and Illinois, those you forgot about. And then there was also a conviction in 2014 for carrying a concealed weapon, violating absolute sobriety, and operating without a license. Can you just talk about that?
It was a stun gun. I had a taser in my purse that he had found, and I only had it for protection. That was it. That was all. And the sobriety test, I had refused it because I forgot. I don't. That was so long ago, ma'am. Oh Lord. But the reason why I refused it, I believe, because I believe he said he's gonna take me to jail anyway. I believe. So when I got to the office, to the local police station, I did the test there.
Okay, and that was, I'm guessing maybe I'd have to do the math. That was probably due to your age, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then the other question I have is, do you have pending alcohol-related charges other than what was pending at the time of this background investigation were 2 OWIs? Do you have any other pending charges, or are those the only 2?
Just them.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and are those are both still pending?
Yes, ma'am. I'm still going to court for him. And my public defender, he keep trying to prolong it. So I'm going to alcohol classes with the Journeys program and trying to fight for my license back.
Okay, that was my next question. You started down that road, I guess. Can you talk a little bit about that would be a third and a fourth offense OWI if you were convicted of both? Can you talk just a little bit about what you're doing? There's some concern about granting a liquor license and decision-making if you're willing to drive under the influence, and how that might affect decision-making if you're selling alcohol to other people or serving alcohol to people. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, ma'am, I don't drive anymore under wheel drunk, not at all. And the people at my job, they're like normal people that just come in, they're not no drunks or anything like that. Like I can tell if they've been drinking way too much because of my experience. And I've been going to the alcohol classes, the little free ones, the little AA classes and stuff right here in Peckers Avenue where I stay at. And what else I was going to say? It was something else I'm missing. You said something else. Talk about something else. I'm so nervous. I got to get it together. I apologize, but
No worries. I applaud you for working to make your life better and to make some positive changes. Do you have, are you currently working at a place where alcohol is sold or served?
yes, I'm at the gas station at Kelly Market.
Okay. And do you have a policy or procedure for if someone comes in intoxicated or how do you handle that, or what's the procedure for you to handle that?
The procedure for that is we cannot serve them alcohol, so we have to refuse to sell. And I have refused to sell numerous of times. Lord knows.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any other questions, Chair.
All right, thank you, Captain Donahue. Other members of the LRC, what questions do you have for the applicant?
I just had a question. Captain Donahue, were you talking about the OWIs from 2019? Or?
The sheet that I have has them listed as 2020. Let me check CCAP real quick. I have one listed from April of 2020 and one July 2020. I apologize. I have to prove I'm not a robot. Yeah, I guess the dates on this cover sheet may be off. Ms. Lynch, do you have, were you arrested this fall for OWI?
It's supposed to be two of them. It's supposed to be one in April, July, and well, they put the July and the April one together in September. Or was it September? I think it was September, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, give me 1 second here.
But they all was before I had did my liquor license. So it happened afterwards. I did my liquor license, I believe, in February. I think it was Valentine's Day. And they all was 2020. Yeah, they all was 2020.
All right, I should have looked at this a little bit more closely. I apologize. I haven't looked at it since August. So I show a fourth offense OWI pending that was just filed in October.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so were you arrested in October?
No, I don't know why they put in October. I was never arrested in October. I guess by the corona going on, everything is kind of like mixed up and everywhere, I believe.
Okay. Assistant City Attorney Zillavi, is that what you're referring to? Is the discrepancy in the dates?
Right, because I saw the OWI thirds, but then 2 OWI fours were filed in October.
Yeah, the thing that I'm missing is I don't see in CCAP, unless, correct me if I'm wrong, let me look at this.
And the only thing I can think is if she was convicted of
The third.
then the pending turned to a fourth, and then she picked up another one maybe, that because the first fourth is pending, now there's a second fourth.
It's only supposed to be 2, y'all. It's supposed to be the 3rd and the 4th. And they combined it another one together because it was a refusal.
All right, let me check the driving history here and see if this is more helpful. Except this is not recent either. For April 16th, OWI, July 5th, OWI. I can run a current abstract on the license real quick to make sure that that's it. Mr. Chair, can you give me just a minute here?
By all means, should we move on to another item or give you a second on this one?
We could move on, except I think I'm up next again unless the other applicant is not logged in.
We can wait a minute.
Okay. Ms. Lynch, do you know what jurisdictions you were arrested in this year?
Oh, good question, ma'am. Great question. I stay in Madison.
Okay.
So I was in them off small towns, and I'm not familiar. And I only been here for a year.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Fair enough.
I know it was McFarland. That was one I remember. The other one, but they didn't arrest me for OWI. It was just a refusal. I think that started with Verona. Yeah. Or Middleton. Ooh, they was all small towns.
So it looks like the April case is a conviction. So I think the thought that that one created the other or forced the other into a fourth offense. However, I do see an arrest. I have McFarland, Middleton, and Verona. And those all appear to be OWIs from 2020.
You talking to me? That's about right. I believe that's right. But one of them wasn't an OWI. It's supposed to be only two. Now that second one was supposed to just been a refusal. So I'm confused, to tell you the truth. And by Corona going on, it's just so much.
Well, so this is what I can tell the committee at this point in time. There are 3 previous convictions for OWI. There is a 4th conviction pending, or a 4th case pending, and possibly a 5th. Let me see if I can figure this out. It does appear that all of these are delayed entries in CCAP, likely, as Ms. Lynch said, because of the coronavirus and delays in the court process.
Yep, yes, ma'am.
If anybody else has any questions, Mr. Chair, then I'll continue to poke around here.
First, Assistant City Attorney Zillaby, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Excellent. Committee members, what questions do you have for this applicant? Okay, seeing no questions, discussion. Seeing no discussion, do I hear a motion?
Move to deny.
I hear a motion to deny. Is there a second? Mr. Grady, discussion of the motion. Seeing none, all in favor of denial, remain silent. Opposed, raise your hand for a voice vote. Mr. Verbeek, please record that the vote was unanimous. Item 3, operator's license application for Wendy Rutherford. Is Wendy here with us tonight?
No.
No registration for Wendy.
Right, and this is
Second.
second appearance. So have you had any contact with her?
I have not. I've reached out after it was referred last time, and then initially the last time to tell her how to register for the meeting like everyone else, and then again prior to this meeting on Friday to register for this meeting as well. And I included in there that was likely the final time it would be before the LRC.
Thank you very much. Alder Carter.
Yes, can I move place on file?
I hear a motion. Is there a second? I see a second from Mr. Cano Espina. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of placing on file indicate by saying nothing. Opposed, raise your hand. I see no opposition. Motion passes. Next item, item 10, change of licensed premises for the Settle Down Tavern at 117 South Pinckney. This is a request to add 113 King Street to the licensed premises. Do we have the applicant here to speak to us?
Yep, I'm here. This is Sam.
Excellent. Sam, can you please tell us about your plans?
Yeah, as you guys, some of you may know, one of my business partners in the Settle Down was also my business partner with Context, the men's clothing store that was at 113 King. And we've decided to dissolve that business and hopefully use that space for additional seating, indoor seating, so we have more space, more room to safely seat people indoors as winter approaches for the Settle Down Tavern.
Excellent. Does Settle Down LLC hold the lease to 117 South Pinckney Street?
Yes.
Excellent. Committee, what questions do you have for the applicant? All right. Seeing no questions, what discussion do you have?
Michael, Chair, I have my hand up.
I'm sorry, I completely missed that. Alder Carter.
Okay, thank you. Sam, can you tell me what's the capacity with adding the Context retail space?
Well, it's never had a official capacity because it's always been a retail space. It's slightly smaller than the Settle Down space, which has a license occupancy of 48. So I assumed, I just assumed that based on its square footage, it would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 40. But we would have to obviously get an official capacity number if you guys think that's something we should do.
But you're looking at it to provide additional space around each table or each chair?
Yeah, well, I mean, it would have to operate at the current restrictions for indoor seating, which is 25% of licensed capacity. So just for the sake of discussion, if it had the same capacity as the Settle Down, which is 48, then we'd only be allowed to put 12 people in there spaced at least 6 feet apart, which is what we do at Settle Down. So
okay, so you would continue that. That's what you're saying.
Oh yeah, we'd have to.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Alder Carter. Sam, would you be adding a door in between the spaces?
No, they're connected by the shared atrium space. If you guys remember all the discussion about including that atrium space in our licensed premise, they open onto that atrium space. And then the Context space has its own exterior door out onto King Street.
Okay, I remember that discussion, but sadly not its conclusion. Is the atrium currently part of your licensed premises?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, that makes that more straightforward. Captain Donahue.
Thank you. Hi, Sam. Just a quick question, and I understand that the current times make it difficult to really foresee what may or may not be happening in the future related to the restaurant industry, but is your plan for that space to be part of Settle Down temporary in your mind, or is that something that you foresee once we get these restrictions lifted? Would you continue to operate that as part of Settle Down?
Well, we signed a 3-year lease for it, so it would go at least that long. Yeah, I think that it's definitely, it sort of serves two purposes for us. One is to give us more indoor square footage to seat people in the winter, as we get into wintertime and our streetery area is not as usable. But then also moving forward after that, we would prefer to keep using it. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Assistant City Attorney Brist, and then Mr. Cano Espina.
I'm not familiar with the building, but I wanted to clarify that you're aware of the requirement in law that if you have a separate room, that you have to have a licensed, a person who has an operator's license or an operator's license privilege to supervise serving of alcohol in that room.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
There will always be staff dedicated to that space, at least 2 people at one time, one of whom will always be a licensed operator. It'll either be me or one of my 2 partners.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Assistant City Attorney Brest. Mr. Cano Espina.
So I'm trying to understand the map, and thank you for reminding us about the license premises and the hallway or the share space. Ancora doesn't, if I understand this map correctly, then Ancora does not have any control on that share space, correct?
Correct. Their license is only for their cafe area. Our license covers the entire atrium space.
Beauty. And then the new one that in your map is like with a red highlight.
Yep.
I see 2 doors kind of coming from that share space. Is there a door to the outside?
Yeah, right on King Street. There's an entrance that goes right out onto King. Yep.
Okay, so will people access that space from King Street or from the inside doors?
I mean, we assumed it would be both.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep.
So you will have people on both sides controlling.
Yeah, I mean, it's only 780 square feet. So with at least 2 people in there at all times, it'll be very easy to monitor entrance and egress.
And this was like a store, wasn't a?
Yeah, it was a retail
right?
store. It was a
Retail
clothing
store, right? Sorry. And so are you like in here? You don't I don't see pictures of tables or stuff, but is that what you're doing? Like you're putting tables in there? And
it's almost just an additional dining room with tables and chairs. Yeah.
So just tables and chairs. You're not making like a bar or anything like that in there.
Well, we have a small temporary, we have a small bar that we built from one of our fixtures from context that we never used. And so we were going to put that in there and use that for for a server station and an additional way to serve the customers that are sitting in there, so we can do it more quickly. So,
but the alcohol will be stored at different in your
actual. Yeah.
So it will just be for serving and kind of selling kind of thing.
That's right.
Okay, perfect. And the whole thing with the bathrooms and everything, if you remind me, the people for Ancora still have access to that, but they cannot take alcohol outside those doors, correct?
Right, that's right.
Okay, thank you so much for helping me with my memory.
I mean, you guys see a lot of different things. It would be hard to keep track for me too, so no problem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. All right, what other questions do you have for the applicant? All right, the queue is empty. Any discussion, or would anyone like to make a motion?
Move approval.
Here, a motion to approve from Ms. Westra and a second from Mr. Cano Espina. Alder Verveer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was certainly going to make the same motion, and I would urge my colleagues to grant this. I will say that for those of you that haven't visited Settle Down, it is exceedingly popular. Every time I've tried to dine there, there have been very long waits. Admittedly, those are on weekend nights. So I can certainly appreciate why the applicant needs the additional space, given their popularity and the spacing requirements that are required these days. I will say too, though, that I am sad to see traditional retail leave King Street in this space, and hope that context will return in a brick and mortar fashion at some point in the future. So I do urge my colleagues to support this. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Alder Verveer. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor remain silent. Those opposed, speak up or raise your hand. Seeing no opposition, motion passes on item 10. Item 11, change of licensed premises for Red Sushi at 316 West Wash. It's an application to expand the dining area to the 6th floor of the building. Do we have someone from the establishment here to speak?
We do, and we also have a couple people from the establishment in addition to the applicant, and then some, looks like one or two others as well.
Okay, let's hear from the applicant and then we can move through the others. So who would that be?
That would be Tanya.
All right. Tanya, can you tell us about your proposal, please?
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Hello, everybody. So yeah, my name is Tanya and I'm owner of Red Sushi Restaurant located on West Washington. As you all know, COVID-19 has been really difficult for our restaurant, for hospitality industry. And every day we are brainstorming new ideas for survival and searching for a path how to keep us afloat and keep our staff employed. So after safe-at-home order was lifted, Red was operating under 25 seating capacity restrictions for indoor dining. And during our summer months, Red was able to utilize our patio and courtyard space. And that allowed us to seat additional 40 people. So now with winter months approaching, we're again facing really challenging time. And we're losing the outdoor space, and takeout business alone, it's just not enough to supply sufficient funds and sustain Red's operation and prevent layoffs. So we're asking for the city to approve our project of expanding Red's dining room on the 6th floor of our building. And we're hoping this measure will only be necessary during the winter and spring months. So originally the space was occupied by local business 100 States, and they actually moved out during summer months, so the space became available, and we approached our landlord with our proposal of temporarily expanding our dining room there. They liked their idea, and now we just decided to submit an application to the city and LRC committee. Hopefully get your support on expanding, or I would say relocating, our outdoor space dining room on the 6th floor. So the tables will be distanced 6 feet apart. It will be approximately around 43 seats. There will be 4 private dining rooms for 2 guests and 1 private dining room accommodating 6 guests. And all food and drink preparation will happen in Red's existing space. There is an elevator, service elevator, that actually connects to kitchen, and that's the elevator that we're planning to use to transport food and beverages to the guests who will be sitting on the 6th floor. We're not planning to store anything related to alcohol on the 6th floor. Again, we will be using our main space for all of that. And of course, we're promising to maintain the same level of cleanliness as Red, as we're known for, and promise to follow all the food and safety and CDC guidelines because of pandemic. I guess I'm just want to note that safety of our guests and employees is the priority, and we just hope that your approval is really I don't know, it's just been really hard, and expanding our dining room to the 6th floor will help us to survive the winter and save our employees' jobs, and we just really hope for your support. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Assistant City Attorney Zillavi, and then Mr. Kino Espina.
This isn't necessarily related to your expansion, but I was curious as to whether you are aware that you cannot deliver alcohol.
Yes, I I do. I am aware of that.
Because you can, if you go on the Toast app, you can order alcohol for delivery from your place.
I would say I apologize for for us, I would say pushing the boundaries. It really wasn't my intention to do that, and we'll absolutely make the changes to our Toast app. And we haven't really been delivering alcohol to anyone.
Because, I mean, obviously everybody would like to do that. So it's really not at all, first of all, it's not legal, but it's not at all fair if you are doing it.
If I just may ask for permission for forgiveness, I guess that's what I'm asking for. We'll remove that right away from our Toast app.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you, Assistant City Attorney Zillivi. We'll have Mr. Kano Espina and then Mr. Grady.
Thank you. Again, I'm trying to understand the maps just to make sure that everything is following our guidance. So if I look at the first map, I see that you will have a house in the 6th floor, and then people move into like a hallway, and then in a couple of different rooms. But I see some like partitions that say wood partition or heavy curtain partition. Is that to like open like areas for other people? Is this fully enclosed walls? Could you explain that a little bit?
Sure. I would love my architect, Matt Teals, to answer those questions. He is attending this meeting. Is it possible if you let him speak?
Yes. Is he registered to speak? Mr. Verbeek?
Not sure.
Mr.
If
Verbeek?
not, then I can answer the question.
It's all fine. We were just making sure the paperwork's in order. Matt, go ahead.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah. So the application that was submitted there was a sort of a preliminary layout, and in fact, I don't have it right in front of me at this moment here. The general area is really fairly open, and I guess in response to the question about separation of curtains or things like that, we've been working with the submittal that went to the city. And for the occupancy, the change of occupancy for the space, the intention there was everything would be as open as it is currently, and we would not be obstructing any sort of egress paths or changing anything in terms of the existing layout of that space.
So if I look at is this 6th floor empty, completely empty right now?
The tenant space that we're proposing to occupy is currently empty, yes. There is another tenant that's probably about a quarter of the footprint of that 6th floor that's separate from this.
So there is another person, another tenant or another business in that 6th floor, and they may have access to that area because you're using existing hallways. Is that correct?
No, I'm sorry. No, they would not have access to this area here. This is a completely separate tenant space, but on the 6th floor proper, there are basically 2 tenants on that space right now, or there were 2 tenants. There's one that is current, and there is the tenant that's no longer occupying the space that we're proposing to occupy.
It looks like hallway areas, and it looked like there was like a partition to kind of separate that hallway. And so I just wanted to make sure that other people won't have access to that other than the people that your business is allowing people in and out, just to make sure that it's not an open floor.
Correct. No, you are correct. This would be we would be in an enclosed tenant space where the proposal for the seating area is just in a portion of that tenant space. I guess if that makes sense.
That makes sense. And for the owner of the business, so you said that there was an actual service elevator that goes directly from your business that you have control right now, that goes directly up to the 6th floor, and the alcohol will not be transported in the regular elevator or by the stairs or things like that?
Correct. There is an elevator located directly to our premises, and alcohol and food will be traveled through that service elevator and not through any public areas or public elevators.
You're on the ground level, correct? Right now?
Yeah.
Are the first, second, third, fourth, fifth level, do they have access to that service elevator?
I believe they do, but not during the hours when we are operating, because every floor has restrictions with fobs, and we are currently open only during dinner hours. So that elevator is not going to be accessible by other businesses or by other floors. And we have discussion with our landlord to make sure that no one has access to that elevator during dinner hours.
That was my next question to kind of like, do you have actual control of that and nobody?
Yeah, we do. Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kinoespina. Mr. Grady.
I had the intention of making a motion, but if there's more discussion, I can wait.
We do have more registrants.
We need to hear from the other registrants.
Okay,
so
fine, I'll wait.
first, Assistant City Attorney Brist, and then the people who are registered to speak.
Should I proceed?
Yes, please.
I just want to ask the same question that I asked of the last applicant. You understand that you're going to need somebody with an operator's license or the privilege of an operator's license supervising this new space because it's not contiguous to the original floor of the business, correct?
Yes, correct. Absolutely. I understand that. We'll make sure that either myself or one of my management staff is attending the premises and has operating license.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Assistant City Attorney Brist. Mr. Verbeek, are the registrants all in favor, all in opposition, or a mix?
They're all in favor. All of them are in support. Do not wish to speak, but available to answer questions, except Victor
Villecrez?
Yeah, Villecrez is in support, wishing to speak.
All right, let's hear from you, Victor.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, community members. I'm here to kind of reiterate kind of the support that I've been hearing, for this expansion on behalf of Hovde. I know this is, out of the box thinking, but, we took a real serious look at the proposal and knew there were some challenges, but we got through it and we are ready and fully supportive of Tanya and Jack's operation, expanding into the 6th floor for, the purpose of, surviving. And we get it. We're in favor of it. And I ask for the committee to consider supporting the applicant's change in license present premise at this time. Thank you.
What is the length of the lease?
The lease right now, it's a month-to-month lease.
Perfect.
So,
that's all I needed.
Yeah. Yep.
Great. Thank you. I don't see anyone in the queue. Mr. Grady, would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve this request, and that it includes a COVID reduction seating of 25% capacity of 43 seats, and that no alcohol will be served in that area.
In which area?
Sixth floor area.
No. So you're
I thought they said you couldn't serve alcohol up there. Isn't that what our prosecutor said?
No, they
misunderstanding.
can't sell alcohol for delivery.
Oh,
They
for
can't have
delivery. Okay, I
drivers do it.
Okay,
The
next
point of the application was to have alcohol on the 6th floor.
Yeah, no problem. Then just forget that and just include the COVID reduction of 20 to 25%, which is 43 people.
Might I suggest, if you're going to have that condition, that it be that they comply with all state, county, and city health requirements?
Well, isn't that part of her contract now with us?
Well, that's part of, I mean, everybody has to follow the laws.
Yeah, we can put that in. I don't have a problem with that.
I'm just saying that putting in wording about the reduction, that could even potentially reduce their capacity and then it gets reduced again. Or if not, I think it's either going to be redundant or potentially a problem.
Okay, the only problem I had is that she keeps this. It's the approved capacity is 169, and this is 25% of that. So I wanted to kind of include that. That's what she listed here in the.
Okay, so you're moving approval with what capacity or conditions?
Well, I was going to do the COVID reduction capacity of 43, but
that isn't something that the ALRC does. That's something that the city and state have done.
Okay, well, do we want to not have that in there? Because I'm willing to do that. That's more applicable. What does our attorney say?
Assistant City Attorney Brest.
At this point, unless you're placing a restriction on the capacity, I would say just leave it out of the motion.
Okay, then
the public health department has rules that they've got in place to limit capacity for COVID.
Okay, I'll just approve the request. Period.
Okay, so I hear a motion to approve. Is there a second? Mr. Fletcher. Got Alder Verveer and then Alder Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As with the last application, this is also in the aldermanic district I'm elected to represent, and I urge your full support for it. I think both this application and the last one are largely, and in this case entirely, due to the pandemic that we're living with. Notwithstanding Assistant City Attorney Zillaby's catch, which I appreciate she did, this establishment is very highly regarded in the neighborhood and has a tremendous following. And I have never heard any concerns about the establishment whatsoever. So I'm sure that the applicant will continue to do the fine job that she's been doing by expanding inside the building there. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Verveer. Alder Carter, do you still have any comments?
Thank you, Chair. Oops.
Looks like you're muted again, Alder Carter.
Am I unmuted?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. I was just going to try to help with the motion, but it's fine now.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. I see no one else in the queue. So all in favor remain silent, opposed, speak up or raise your hand. Seeing no opposition, motion to grant item 11, change of licensed premises for Red Sushi passes. Next item is 13, new license for Wonder State Coffee at 27 West Main Street. Do we have an applicant here?
Hi, Kyle Beach here.
Okay, tell us about your proposed business, please.
Certainly. We're going to be a cafe, coffee shop, 27 West Main Street. Predominantly coffee and food. Would like to have wine and beer by the glass and wine and beer retail, and potentially occasionally perhaps like the flexibility to expand into liquor service to supplement like coffee, but nothing major. Couple months into service.
All right, thank you. Members, what questions do you have for the applicant? Mr. Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kyle, have there been any kind of lessons from your Viroqua location that you're bringing across to this new location?
I think with the hours of operation we do, we are not seeing a ton of alcohol sales. We're hoping that with our location on the square, we'll be able to do a little bit of retail sales. The projection of 10% alcohol sales was based on the sales data from the Viroqua Cafe in the last 2 years. Something that the Viroqua Cafe has been able to utilize during this time and pre-COVID era was utilizing the space for pop-ups for dinner service, which would make the liquor application a little more enticing for collaboratory purposes.
Do you plan to have events in the coffee shop and things of that nature, Kyle?
I think that's not in our Q1 plan for sure, or Q2 even. I think that's something that excites us based on the experiences we've had with the Viroqua Cafe. Nothing out the gate.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fletcher. What other questions do people have for the applicant? Alder Verveer, you didn't have your hand up, but your face earlier looked like you might have a question.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I have no questions.
Okay.
I'm
Mr.
happy
Kano,
with motion. I didn't want to jump the gun, so to speak.
Sounds good. Mr. Kano Espina.
I just wanted to confirm the hours of operation, if you can just put them in the record for us.
Absolutely. We're going to open with hours of operation of 7 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Our goal is to expand to 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. By the end of January, though we want to be conservative in our opening approach, based on the current economic conditions.
So you are asking for 7 to 6 p.m., but right now, because of COVID, you're only opening at 2:30?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kano Espina. I don't see anyone else in the queue. Mr. Verbeek, is there anyone else registered to speak? Captain Donahue.
Sorry, I was flustered and not able to find my hand to raise. Quick question, just I don't think we've had an opportunity to meet or talk about this, so I apologize if that's not correct. But I guess one of my concerns is when you say that that's not your plan in the first quarter or the first 2 quarters, like for me, my goal is to be very understanding right now and trying to make sure that people are able to make a living, but also, have to keep the concern of public safety down the road and effects of certain things on the area as we move along. And so I guess I'd like to hear a little bit more about long-term plans. If things would be changing, kind of what your pie in the sky, or what, as the police department, what we could expect 7 months from now or 9 months from now, as opposed to just in the next 3 months or 4 months.
I think with beer and wine sales in-house and for takeout, we're anticipating those, being pretty straightforward, having maybe 2 to 3 offerings for in-house for beer, probably at max 4 glasses, wines by the glass, and then probably a similar amount in retail. With the liquor licensure specifically, my reading of the licensure was that to serve wine by the glass, I would need the liquor license specifically. I think there's also pairings that one can do with fortified spirits with coffee that are exciting. I don't foresee us having a late night presence on the square, or anything like that would play into a public safety concern.
And then my only other question, do you have a plan for staff on, I don't know if you'll have staff that's coming from Viroqua to get you up and running or what your plan is in that regard, but what kind of plan that you would have? I suspect that running an establishment in downtown Madison will be a touch different than in Viroqua, but a plan for working with maybe a difficult clientele or people who come in who are intoxicated or boisterous or just difficult, I guess, would encompass a lot of different things.
Absolutely. So I am a new resident to Wisconsin. I just moved here from Asheville, North Carolina. I managed a restaurant there called Buxton Hall Barbecue that was in a brewery district. So alcoholic, guest under the influence was our most common type of guest. So I feel really comfortable operating, doing de-escalation techniques with guests. I think that our goal is to have all of our baristas take the server sellers screening for the state of Wisconsin. I passed that, and as our bar lead, so one of the two of us will be on site at any given time to deal with any kind of guest issues that you're referring to.
Thank you, Mr. Beach. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have anything further.
Thank you, Captain Donahue. Alder Verveer.
Thank you. Captain Donahue's line of questioning did pique my interest a little. So I did want to ask the applicant a question or two just to share some background with my colleagues and perhaps to allay any concerns that might be out there about this application, particularly given its presence on the Capitol Square. So could you please share with the committee the background of Wonder State Coffee, and which probably most of us, Mr. Beach, haven't really heard of, but explain that it's a recent name change from something that I think is more well known in the state and perhaps beyond the state, and that's Kickapoo Coffee and the operation there, and the fact that the name was changed earlier this year. And moreover, the fact that there are other coffee shops, as my recollection is, beyond Viroqua, that I thought you had some elsewhere in the state, like the Milwaukee area and
absolutely
up north as well.
We have location in Milwaukee that opened in 2016. The Viroqua Cafe opened in 2017, and we have a cafe in Bayfield as well that was opened as a joint venture that became exclusively operated by Wonder State in 2018. The name change, something that Wonder State's planned for about a year, that went into effect in June. Formerly operated under the name Kickapoo Coffee since 2005. A small batch coffee roastery in Viroqua, working with cooperative owned farms exclusively, and paying farmers over market rate for coffee products is the general mission for the roastery. Also 100% solar powered. The locations that have served alcohol would just be the Viroqua location to date. I don't think there are plans for Milwaukee at this point. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Alder Revere. Any other questions for the applicant? All right, do I hear a motion? Alder Revere.
Thank you again. I'll move to grant.
Hear a motion. I see a second from Mr. Fletcher. Any discussion?
Yes, please. We have the third in a row of wonderful downtown applications. This one more exciting perhaps than the other two, since those were more COVID related. So I've been working with what at the time was Kickapoo, now Wonder State Coffee, for some time about their plans to open in the renovated former Anchor Bank building on the Capitol Square going back last year, pre-pandemic. I was frankly worried that they might pull out of the endeavor, but obviously here they are, and they plan to be open and operating next month. So I really welcome them to the Capitol Square. As some of my colleagues know, especially the perhaps the longer time colleagues on this committee, and this should be also remind me, I meant to do this earlier, but I want to give a very warm welcome to Karen Reese for her first official meeting here as a full vested voting member of the committee. Welcome, Karen. It's going to be great working with you in this forum officially. But in any event, back to the application at hand, I really have no concerns whatsoever with it. I appreciate Captain Donahue's questions. I really do, but would remind my colleagues, new and old, that this is simply a trend that started many years ago where many of the coffee shops, especially those downtown, do have liquor licenses, and most of them full liquor licenses, so they can offer some coffee varieties with some spirits added to them. So this is not new ground. This is not precedent setting. I had a good conversation with the applicant, and I believe everything that you heard him testify tonight, and as is consistent with the written application. So I urge my colleagues' full support for this tonight, and welcome Wonder State to the Capitol Square, and thank them for opening in the midst of a pandemic. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Alder Revere. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor indicate by remaining silent. Those opposed, raise your hand or speak up. Seeing no opposition, motion passes. All right, that is item 13, Wonder State Coffee. Next up is item 14, Madison Food Mart at 902 East Johnson Street, just a couple of blocks down from me. Is the applicant here to speak to this item? Oh, and I should disclose I am a member of the Tenny Lapham Neighborhood Association Council, which voted to support this application. So,
yes, Abdullah is here and unmuted.
Excellent. Abdullah, can you please tell us about your plan?
Hi, existing. Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Existing store with 700 square feet of area. We have a walk-in cooler with 4 doors of beer, and I would like to upgrade my license to Class A liquor so I can sell wine as well to my customer.
So would you be, since that license would allow you to sell wine and liquor, would you have any concerns with a condition limiting the sales to only wine?
Yes.
Excellent.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Only wine, no beer?
Oh, sorry. Beer and wine, but no hard liquor.
No. We were not planning on having hard liquor anyway. So yeah, that's right.
Excellent. Committee members, what questions do you have for the applicant? Captain Donahue.
I am not familiar with the store, but I see open until 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. Here's the store. I'm actually sitting in the store. So there's a layout.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I'm in the store, so you can see the layout.
Unfortunately, we can't see. I'm curious about the hours of operation.
The hour of operation are 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay. I don't have any further questions.
All right, thank you, Captain Donahue. Alder Carter, and then Mr. Grady.
I move approval with the condition, Chair Michael, that you put on there beer and wine only.
Understood. I hear a motion. Is there a second? Mr. Grady, any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by remaining silent. Opposed, raise your hand or make some noise. All right, motion passes for item 14, new license for Madison Food Mart. Next up, item 15, new license for the Hilton Garden in Madison at 770 Regent Street. Mr. Verbeek, who's here to speak to this one?
Mr. Michael Lewis is here to represent that one.
Michael, can you tell us a little bit about your proposed establishment, please?
Yes, so this is a hotel that's being under construction currently with a goal to open kind of middle part of February. It's a Hilton Garden Inn, which the Hilton, this particular part of the Hilton brand concept of the brand is it includes a restaurant and a bar. The hope then is to have the license to be able to allow us to serve alcohol for those two elements or aspects of the business. So we will also have some event space, and as well would want to be able to, the purpose of the business, under when in the event that people are able to gather again, and hopefully sometime in the near term post-pandemic, the meeting space and banquets, wedding receptions, that sort of thing might be part of what we would hope to attract. And then in the near term, February and beyond there, it's primarily a spot where business travelers, having concluded their day, will maybe have a beer at the bar, watching the game, that pretty low-key kind of a thing, as opposed to an active night spot.
And thank you very much, committee. What questions do you have for the applicant? Mr. Verbeek, is anyone else registered to speak on this item?
No, Mr. Lewis is the only registrant for this item.
All right, committee, what's your pleasure? Alder Verveer.
Thank you. I do have a question of the applicant, if I might. And simply, it's out of curiosity, really, could you share with us the ownership of the hotel and the ownership of the operating entity? So am I correct that you're an employee of the what will be the hotel operator, but that entity does not own the actual asset, or am I incorrect on that?
Your question is such a good one. We've had a number of these conversations internally ourselves. It's a little bit different. So I personally am an employee of Raymond Management Company based here in Madison for the last 40 years or so. And we are, I guess I think of it as a real estate company that manages hotels, mostly through the Midwest. As we speak today, the site in question is owned and being constructed by Mortensen Construction. That in itself is a Mortensen construction, is a Mortensen development. but Mortensen is the company that purchased the property and came up with the design and is putting it up. They in turn have an agreement once they meet all the specifications that have been outlined by the purchaser. Apple Real Estate Investment Trust is another entity, and they have lots of, I think they have to 75, 80 hotels where they own the asset, but they work with companies like ours, Raymond Management Company, to do the day-to-day operations. So come February, if everything goes as they've outlined, Mortensen purchased land, built the hotel, and is now selling this hotel to Apple Real Estate Investment. Apple then on that day turns to us and gives us the keys and asks us to help them operate it. So we'll be working on their behalf for the day-to-day operating. We'll hire the team, we'll clean the rooms, we'll serve the beer, and then for that we get a management fee, and the owner gets the remainder of proceeds.
Very good. I appreciate that. Yeah, I happen to have the privilege of representing the area around it on the city council, but not the actual site. So I worked with Mortensen Development when they were proposing the hotel development at the time, as the proximity of the Alderman District again I'm elected to represent. So to get right down to it, and I always knew that Mortensen would be flipping the hotel, but you're a Raymond employee, and I know Raymond well from the Hampton Inn and Suites downtown, of course, on West Johnson and Bassett, and so Raymond will be fully managing this with local folks, just as you do at the Hampton.
Exactly. In fact, I was the person lucky enough to open the Hampton. I was a general manager at that property, have been for the last 7 years, and this was an interesting opportunity for me. So I'm staying with Raymond and just shifting hats and moving over to this property, the Hilton Garden Inn, and we'll be working as we do in sort of collaboration and supporting one another. We also manage the Hilldale Spring Hill in Madison, and this will be kind of an exciting new venture for us.
Well, excellent. Glad to know that it's in a good experience, local hands, opening this latest establishment downtown. And again, I'll say to you what I said about the last application. It's just amazing that businesses are opening in the midst of this pandemic, especially the hard-hit hospitality sector that you know better than we do. So I'm glad that things are full speed ahead there.
Yes, thank you.
And Mr. Chair, if there's no one else in the queue, which I don't believe there is, I'm happy to move to grant.
Go for it. So I hear a motion to grant from Alder Revere, a second from Mr. Grady. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by remaining silent. Those opposed, raise your hand or make some noise. Motion passes. All right, next up is item 16, new license for Mini Mart at 714 West Badger Road. Mr. Verbeek, who do we have here?
We have a lot of registrants for this one. We have 9 registrants in support, 2 registers in opposition, and a lot of those don't wish to speak, but some do. But I think we can bring along the applicant and his attorney are here, as well as the liquor beer agent.
Okay, let's have them first. And committee members, remember that we'll need to hear from the other registrants before we make a motion. So let's ask questions of these folks and then hear the other people and then discuss and then vote. Who are we hearing from first, Mr. Verbeek?
Well, the applicant is Mr. Manzoor, his attorney is Ronald Trachtenberg, and the agent is Sheila Sanchez.
This is Ron Trachtenberg. I'll start, and then I'll suggest we go to Mr. Manzoor, and then I suggest we go to Sheila Sanchez.
Sounds good. Go ahead, Ron.
Just to set the agenda, we have met and talked to, we talked to the alder, we talked to the precinct. We had a public meeting, Zoom meeting that we sponsored. No one appeared. And then Alder Carter was kind enough to have a Zoom meeting that she sponsored, that some of the neighborhood representatives showed up. So with that, I think, Waquar should go next and talk about his operation. I'm here to answer any technical questions that there may be.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, this is Waqar Manzoor, and I'm the new owner to operate and as a retail store. There's going to be a liquor license retail, and with the addition to the mini mart food stuff that will be also be serving from there. We proposed the mini mart in there, but I think we will be changing it to a Badger mini mart.
All right, Assistant City Attorney Zilliby.
I'm sorry. So just a reminder to the committee that the last time an applicant for this address was before you, they were basically a straw party for the previous owner, Sharif Saeed. The Saeeds still own the building. So of course I still have concerns that this is another one of those situations. And I'm curious to know how the current owner knows the Saeeds. Sir?
Yes, through a mutual friend that I got to know, and that the place is available for store, and that's where my interest comes along, and I visited the place up there to see it. It's a small place, and that's where my understanding is he's offering to lease it, and I said, well, I'll take it.
You don't live in Madison then?
Not right now, but I'd be planning to move as soon as I have finalized this licensing issues.
If you didn't get a liquor license, would you still go forward with the business?
Yes, that's my plan is, yes. And, the place needs to be renovated a little bit. So that's another thing that we have to do, that with the present owner that has to come up with some of these things that we like to have it in there. That's where, timeline has to be very crucial.
Well, Quar, I don't mean to interrupt, but I don't know if you understood her question. Her question was, if you don't get the liquor license, will you open the store anyway?
Well, the primary store location is for a liquor store. So I plan to open a liquor store along with the mini mart that is going to be serving food.
So if you didn't get a liquor license, you would not open the mini mart, correct?
That's correct. That's my intention is, because it is a presently, serving the community up there as a liquor store. That's my intention, is to carry on as a Badger, yes.
It's not presently serving the community as a liquor store.
No, it's because it's closed right now. And we're going to be grand opening it.
And what type of food do you plan to serve?
Day-to-day grocery items for the community. It's not going to be a full-fledged grocery store, but it will carry amenities for the neighborhood as requested. Yes.
Can you be a little more specific as to what you plan to provide?
It's going to be, milk, bread, butter, eggs, some, of course, beverages, also cold beverages, and also some of these packaged foods, meats and stuff. So those are some of these things that we, plan to carry on.
So I believe it says the store is 1,000 square feet, correct?
That is correct, yes.
What portion of that square footage will be devoted to food sales?
It's going to be about almost like a 30% in there, yes.
And so on your application, it says the mailing address for your business is 2716 Central Avenue. That's also the address that is registered for your business on the Wisconsin Department of Financial Institutions website. But
that is correct.
But that, I don't believe, is even a street in the city of Madison. So can you tell me what your business mailing address is?
That's the mailing address is for the business right now because it's a temporary address that I'm using it from my friends, yes.
Well,
since I don't live there.
I don't think there's a Central Avenue in the city of Madison. At least I couldn't find it.
Central Avenue.
I believe that would be Center Avenue. There is a 2716 Center.
And so that
correct. That's 2716 Central Avenue.
No, not Central. There is no Central. Have you ever been to this address?
Yes.
What's near it?
I have to look it up because I don't live there.
No, like when you drove there, what did you see? Anything? Name something.
As far as the, at a nighttime, yes, there is quite a few things up there, but on the same token, when you trying to look for something up there and going to the address, that's basically what I was looking for.
Okay.
But so who lives there? Or what?
That's my friend.
What's your friend's name?
That's Arnie's. We call him.
What's his name, though?
Arnie. Arnie Rafi.
How do you spell the last name?
Rafi.
And his first name is Arnie?
Yeah.
Like ARN?
I.
ARNI?
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, this is the temporary that I am using the mailing address, and basically I'm trying to look for a place up there as soon as I have indication that I'll be moving to, Madison up there, and I'm trying to get it close by a place to the store.
Well, the address that's on that site serves a purpose. Legal papers need to be served upon your corporation. That's the address where somebody serves the legal papers. So the address matters in terms of.
Okay. I will make sure that it get corrected if that is the case too.
And then I noticed on the lease that you both signed the lease, but
correct.
Paragraphs 1 and 3 were blank, and that's the term of the lease and the date it was signed. Why is that?
We are waiting. Yeah, we are waiting to finalize the date. As soon as, we have indications on the license, and then based on that, then we can move forward. It's going to be a 3-year lease from the date for sign and confirmation of the license. Because otherwise, I'll be obligated as far as to, pay the rent and stuff.
Right. So the lease is only for 3 years?
Yes, it's starting 3 years, but we'll have the option to extend it.
But you're planning to move up here for that 3-year period?
Yes, if I'm going to be, yes, most likely I will be more, permanent up there.
Will you be selling a home where you live now?
No.
But you'll be purchasing a home here?
I'll be renting it first. That's why I was, I'll be looking at in the neighborhood or close by.
And do you have any type of agreement beyond what's in the lease with Mr. Saeed?
As far as?
Anything?
As far as in the lease, I think the only thing that I can say is he will have to maintain when I take over the premises. I want to make sure that he renovate the premise that I like to have things taken down, and as far as the coolers and stuff that he's got, you need to be working in there.
Are you planning on turning this business over to Mr. Saeed after the 3 years?
I don't have any intention to. If I'm running it for 3 years, most likely it's going to be running, longer than for renewal in there.
I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Assistant City Attorney Zillavi. In your application on item 17, it says you need to list the directors of the corporation or members of the LLC, and you list the agent. Is the agent a member of the LLC?
No, it's not. Because we had, I listed myself first in there, and because I'm not a resident in there, so I have to change it to agent is going to be Sheila Sanchez is going to be the agent in there.
I'm specifically looking at page 2 of your application, and question 17 on there. It says, in the table below, please list the directors of your corporation or members of your LLC.
Sir, that may be this is Ron. That may be my error. When we had, when Warquar wanted to be the initial agent but couldn't because he doesn't live here, in going through and telling him what he needed to change, get the correct agent, I may have told him block 17. And he took me literally and inserted Sheila Sanchez. So that may have been my error.
Gotcha. Who are all of the members of the LLC?
Just myself.
There are no other members.
That's correct.
No one has any percent ownership in it at all, other than you.
That is correct also.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Grady.
Mr. Mansour, have you had retail liquor store experience and grocery store experience prior to this?
I have some retail experience, but not the liquors or grocery stores, no.
Okay, how did you find out about this business opportunity?
Through word of mouth from a different, friends in the Milwaukee area. Then, of course, we, look at it and try to find out where this location is. And based on that, we decide to move forward.
I guess my reason for asking is, in my experience, this address has been a chronic problem for that side of the south side of Madison. And, I'm a little reluctant to have someone move in there who, doesn't really have experience in the liquor business. Do you have anybody that's advising you or anybody that's giving you help with this?
Not at all. And that's why, I engage Sheila up there, and because she's a local resident up there. And, to me, I think if you run it right, I think the place is going to be, a neighborhood store based on, things. It's all depend on how you manage it day to day in there. And if you do things right, for the store, for the neighbors, for the neighborhood, I think the chronic issues you probably have, which I don't know, but on the same token, we can overcome all those issues.
Okay. What vendors are you intending to use for supplying your liquor and your grocery items?
I haven't decided yet, but I'll be looking into it more detailed, yes.
You won't be using Mr. Saeed, will you?
Not at all, sir.
So he has really no connection to your business other than he owns the building.
That is correct. It is a landlord, I guess, relationship. That's all.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grady. Ms. Reese.
Hi, I'm still just a little bit confused as to Ms. Sanchez's role, and I was wondering if we can get a little clarity on that. I don't know if we're going to have her speak next.
Yes.
I'm curious.
She will be speaking next.
Okay, great.
Right.
Hello? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Ms. Sanchez.
Hi, I'm Sheila, and I'm here presenting myself for the approval of the Class A liquor license for cider and beer at that address on Badger. I feel very qualified for this. I lived in Madison for over 30 years. I worked at Dee's Amico at the other end of Park Street for 6 years on Park and West Washington down there. It's not that anymore. It's a BP now. But I did work there for 6 years. I raised 5 children here by myself in the Madison area. And I have a good rapport with people. My kids are all grown now. And what brings me to the table here is sometimes I just randomly go, I'm a tree cutter too. And I just go and I clean up areas. And I saw somebody going in that building when I was cleaning the area. And I asked them what's going on here. And they said they were going to rent it. So I was like, oh, I can help you. And I want to be the liquor agent. I've got a good reputation. I'm spotlessly clean in any kind of record or anything. You know, I'm got my kids all raised, and I'm just looking for my own 5-year plan of what I'm going to do for the next 5 years, now that I'm grandma and great-grandma. And I was raised in a grocery store. So when I worked at Amico with Diane Ryder, she was the owner then, it brought back all the memories of growing up in my dad's grocery store. And I was like, oh, I can do this. I love it here. So I know about the inventory. I know what the customers need. I know what the day-to-day thing is. I used to listen to my mom and dad all the time, and they would say, every day you need food. Every day you need gas. Every day you need money to pay the utilities. And I'm now a homeowner up in the mobile home park just up the hill there. So I just thought this is perfect little niche for me, and I'm good with the people. When I was in South Tucson, I worked with the South Tucson Police Department, and we cleaned up the neighborhood with all the graffiti on the walls and all the, I don't want to use the word hoodlums, but there were little hoodlums. and they were quite destructive. And there was a dog racetrack there and a lot of bars and the library and open lots and broken beer bottles. Well, what I did is I got the police department there involved in it to give these kids walkie-talkies, and they didn't have to go tell on each other, but they did have to go clean up the graffiti. And I've always been part of a community to make the community better. So my vision of this, I drove by coming off a freeway behind Burger King, and you can see the store head on. I picture it very beautiful. I picture it very different than what it's been in the past. It's just a small place, but there's a little bit of nostalgia there. It'll serve the neighborhood. The kids, you know, sometimes the grandparents, they send the children to the store, go get me a dozen eggs and a loaf of bread. Well, they're on bikes or on foot, and they don't need to go all the way down to Pick and Save. And they don't have to cross that busy street. There's a lot of residential area here. And I think I have a lot to offer the community. And as far as that Badger Mini Mart name, because the store would represent the street name of Badger, and we have the Badger football and the games and everything, I was thinking we could support the marching band for the University of Wisconsin. I just have a lot of ideas and visions that this could be totally different than anything that's been. Are you there?
Yep, we are. Ms. Reese?
Okay, and I don't mean to ramble on and on. It's just that I really think this place could make a go of it. I don't know the previous owner, but I just know I have a vision and I live here and I raised my children here and I worked in the area for years.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. Ms. Reese, did you have additional questions?
One more. So, Ms. Sanchez, you're saying that the way you know Mr. Mansour is just through chance meeting, or?
It was kind of a chance meeting. I clean up things just at random wherever I am, and I didn't know him before this. And when I realized he was interested in opening a little grocery store, it kind of grabbed my heart because that's where I grew up, in my dad's grocery store. My dad was a concert pianist, but he had 8 children. So the natural thing for him to have would be the grocery store. And, anyway, that's what I did.
Thanks. I'm glad to hear you're in the neighborhood. I am from close to that area, so I like the idea of someone in the neighborhood owning or running.
When I used to work at Amico, my children were so little then they would ride their bike from Parker Place.
Ms. Sanchez,
okay.
Please just respond to the questions from members of the committee.
Sorry. Okay, I get carried away. I'm just excited for this place. I think it could be beautiful.
Ms. Sanchez, we're going to have to mute you. Ms. Reese, did you have any further questions? Okay. Assistant City Attorney Zillivi, and then Captain Donahue.
Ms. Sanchez, are you the only employee of the store?
Sheila, you may have to press *6 on your phone to unmute yourself.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
My phone's acting up a little bit.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Question?
We can hear you.
Okay. I hear buttons pushing. Okay, what was the question? I'm sorry.
Are you the only employee of the mini mart?
Well, at this point, because I'm planning on being there, I know the sales are only off premises, and I'm going to be there and checking the parking lot and everything. But at this point, I don't know who the other employees might be. I haven't met them yet. But I'm planning on spending my days there.
So you will be full-time on site?
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Assistant City Attorney Zillivi. Captain Donahue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I applaud Ms. Sanchez's enthusiasm I actually have a question, however, for the previous speaker. I think that was Mr. Manzoor. So my concern comes in more of a issue of transparency. I feel like when you were responding to the questions that Assistant City Attorney Zillavi was asking and some of the other questions, that we were not getting forthright answers, or answers that I guess I didn't feel like they were as transparent as I would like. So if I could just go back and ask you a couple of questions. The fellow who lives at the address that you've listed on your application, did you intend for that to be a City of Madison address?
Yes.
Okay, and have you ever been to that address?
Yes, only one time.
Okay, and when you were there, what was the purpose for your visit or
Just
trip?
a meeting. Just a meeting, just to make sure that we'll be using the address in there. Yes.
Okay, and was that a house, an apartment, a business? What was it?
It's a house. It's got an apartment. Duplex type.
Okay, and had you met this fellow before that, or was that the first time you've ever met this fellow?
I met first time through another friend.
So this was the second time you've met this fellow?
No, just first time.
That was the first time. Okay, and who is the friend? Who's the mutual friend between the two of you?
He lived in Milwaukee.
Okay, and what's his name?
His name is Khan, Khan.
Okay, and what is Khan's connection to all of this?
Nothing. He's just a friend. He referred to me and said, well, talk to him. Maybe you can use your address up there. Because you were, because of the restriction that we have as far as the residency. And that's why we, intend to use that address. That's about it. And like I said, it is for temporary and based on the outcome. And, I plan to move. I'm looking already the area for, renting the place up there.
Okay, and so the way that you heard about the business opportunity in Madison was through Khan?
Yes.
Okay. And you're not certain about how he learned of the business opportunity, just that he shared it with you?
Correct. He's also in business, different types. And so that's why he got some connection that he probably looked into it.
Okay, what type of business is he into?
He's in the restaurant business.
Okay. And have you ever lived in Madison before, or this would be the first time living here?
That would be the first time.
Okay, and do you intend for this to be your primary and sole residence?
That is correct. Yes, just to let you know that, in my present business or my employer, I think I am close to the retirement, my years. So that's where this business is more appealing to me, because that way I can be spending more time with the business up there.
Okay. I do not have any further questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Captain Donahue. Assistant City Attorney Zillavi.
And Captain Donahue's questions just made me wonder even more what's up with this address on Central or Center Avenue. It just seems very odd that you would meet somebody and then your first time meeting them use their address, particularly when presumably you had hired or were interested in Ms. Sanchez as an employee of your business. Why didn't you use her address?
Because that's after the fact that, we have the business addresses taken care, and we submitted for the business name and stuff, and that is after we went to the premise up there. That's where we got involved with the Sanchez up there. That was the after the fact the LLC has been registered.
And do you know what business Arnie Rafi is in?
That I don't know what kind of business he's in.
Have you
or
ever
he's
had
an
a
employee.
conversation with him?
Not really. No, not on this the subject of what kind of work he does or what business he's in.
And when did you actually meet him?
That was back in I would say about the late part of July.
And did you go into his house?
Not at not his place. No.
Well, what did you do at the property?
His property?
Right.
Well, like that, I never went to his place up there. So, it's the intention is, working with him to utilize his mailing address in there for business registration.
But earlier you said that you did go to the house.
As far as passing through from the place up there, but I did not go into his home in there.
Well, can you please, I don't understand what you're saying. So you went to his house, but you didn't go in his house, or you just drove by?
No. No, we met outside of it, and then we drove to the restaurant. That's all.
What restaurant did you go to?
It's a coffee shop that he took it to us, somewhere close to it. I don't remember the name of it, no.
All right, well, something doesn't seem right here to me, but I don't have any further questions.
All right, thank you.
I do have one more of Mr. Mansour. Are you aware of the history at this property?
No, I'm not.
So you are unaware of the many years of issues the city of Madison and the police department had with the previous operation?
I have no idea that, there are some issues with that address or with the business.
Are you aware that the previous liquor license was surrendered by the Saids because of a pending liquor license revocation action?
That I don't know.
Madam City Attorney, this is Ron Trachtenberg. While I did not go into detail with Waqar regarding the history of the property, I did told him that any business relationship other than landlord-tenant with Mr. Said was poison, and then Mr. Said could not have any business relationship with the business at all, except for being a landlord of the property.
Okay, well, you've listened to this whole dialogue. Do you not find it a little bit odd?
No, we have somebody from out of town that's looking for a business, and excuse me, to another friend, he hears about a business relationship potentially in Madison. He doesn't have an address in Madison because he hasn't moved here yet. So he finds somebody who agrees to let him use the address for mailing purposes, and it will forward on the mail. It's not traditional, but it's certainly not unheard of. And I don't have any reason to believe that, Waqar is other than what he appears to be. That is an older middle-aged gentleman who wants to run a business, an honest business, and basically is trying to run a good business. He was lucky he found Ms. Sanchez, who has, I think, good neighborhood experience and good retail experience in the food / beer-liquor area. And, I'd like to see him given the benefit of the doubt. And everybody knows the history of that place, but I think it's an issue of management, not the location.
Well, everybody knows the history except the applicant.
Well, maybe I should have gone in more detail and had him read the transcripts, but I did tell him that Quar was poison and that he cannot have any business relationship at all except other than landlord.
All right, thank you. Assistant City Attorney Zilvey, further questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Captain Donahue.
I'll pass for now. I'm sorry. Well, I guess I do have a question. I was just trying to text with Captain Hansen. Mr. Manzoor, when you met with Captain Hansen from the South Police District, did you talk to him about the previous
We did not
history?
meet with Captain Hansen. We met with Lieutenant Beckett.
Okay, all right.
Yes, that was a Zoom meet. Yeah.
Okay, I thought Captain Hansen sent me a message that said that he met with Mr. Manzoor.
No, I have not met.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any further questions for Mr. Manzoor, Ms. Sanchez, or their attorney? Okay, Mr. Verbeck, how many people do we have registered to speak for and against?
There's a lot of registering do not wish to speak. We do have one person registered who's not spoken already, who's not with the business, in opposition, wishing to speak. Her name is, and I might butcher the last name, Sarah Hennis.
All right.
She's here. I don't see her name. I don't see her name in the list of attendees. But she was registered in opposition, wishing to speak, but she's not here.
Okay. Are there any further registrants who wish to speak?
There are not. Do you want me to list the names of the people who are registered in support not wishing to speak?
Yes.
Put it on the record? Okay. Okay. So Jean Seidel is in support, not wishing to speak. Larry Seidel, support, not wishing to speak. Looks like Larry registered twice. Nian Lam is registered in support, not wishing to speak. Willie Johnson in support, not wishing to speak. Eunice Conley, opposed, not wishing to speak. And Juan Gomez, support, not wishing to speak.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. I'd like to remind the applicants that the committee will begin discussion now. They may have further questions for you, but please wait until a question is asked of you before responding. Committee members, what is your pleasure? Mr. Canoespina.
So based on the testimony today, the information provided to me, I feel very uncomfortable granting a license to this application, to this applicant. So I don't know if I should make a motion to deny it and then have a discussion.
There's no one else in the queue, so feel very free to make a motion.
Motion to deny.
I hear a motion. Is there a second? Mr. Grady.
So if I can this is an applicant who does not have previous experience in running this type of business. It's an applicant that is coming from a different city without knowledge of the city of Madison, without connections to the city of Madison, who has no understanding of the history of the issues in this location and the issues with this particular owner, has given some answers, and I don't want to call his integrity into, I believe he answers the answers the way he did, but it did not provide me with full confidence that the owner of the establishment who will be renting the establishment is not in some way involved in this business and trying to continue that involvement. I don't have any proof of that, but it is what my suspicion, and I'm very concerned that that will happen. And if it's not, I'm still concerned that this person does not have the experience to run this particular type of business in a safe manner. The agent had a lot of good spirit, and she wants to do something good for the neighborhood and wants to get involved to provide services for the community, which really good power for her. And I hope that there is something else in the future, or another applicant that actually does know how to run a business and has done that she can be part of that. But right now with this, it doesn't feel like it's something safe for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cano Espina. Let's hear from Assistant City Attorney Brist and then Alder Carter.
I just wanted to remind the committee that if we deny a license, we have to state that it's contrary to the health, safety, and welfare of the community, and we have to articulate facts that support that. So that should be part of the motion at some point. So you have your discussion going on right now, but before you vote on this, I would suggest that you by unanimous consent or otherwise amend your motion and include the information that it's contrary to health, safety, and welfare and give the reasons why.
Thank you, Assistant City Attorney Brist. Alder Carter.
Let me just say that there is no requirement that you have to know the city in order to have a business. There's no requirement that you have to know the previous owner, reputation, or legal cases in order to open up a business in this city. And if those are the requirements we want to have, then those are the requirements we need to establish, not only for this address, but for all addresses, all new businesses, all new owners, and everyone who wants to come to this city, outside of this city, and open up a business. This reminds me of what is called a tainted address. There was an address in my district that an offender lived in and has since moved. And DOC says people still thought they lived there. And DOC said, this is why we don't like to give out addresses, because when they move, people still think that person's there and still act accordingly. This has become a tainted address. This has become an address that we will continue to assume from now until 20 years from now that there's some shenanigans going on. Plain and simple, this is what is happening right now. Now, I'm not going to fall on a sword for this, but I just want to make it very clear that this is what is happening. This is what I see, and this is the truth. I think that Sheila and Sanchez, again, is very enthusiastic. And I think she's an honest person looking forward to a new job. That's what I think. We had a meeting with Lieutenant Beckett on September 16th. We had a neighborhood meeting on November 13th that was very detailed. The residents asked a million questions, and I'm glad for their engagement. A lot of residents on this street want a small grocery store so they don't have to go to Pick and Save, so they don't have to walk all the way over to Quick Trip, which has more food variety than 7-Eleven. So I say to you, regardless of where this motion goes, that we cannot taint this address in the future. We either believe in small businesses or we don't. But if we want to make all these requirements, then let's make sure we do it on Regent Street. Let's make sure we do it on Main Street. Let's make sure we do it on Williamson Street, because this is what I see. At the meeting this summer, someone came in and didn't have a neighborhood meeting, an existing business wanting to expand, and the reply from this group was, "Oh, that's okay, you've already been there." But yet we'll deny someone for not having a neighborhood meeting. Let's level this playing field. That's what I'm saying tonight. Now you can go forward with your motion.
Thank you, Alder Carter. Mr. Fletcher.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to, if I may ask Alder Carter then, is just to clarify, are you opposed to this motion, Alder Carter, as the Alder of the district?
I feel that some of the answers that were given tonight definitely need some clarification. I feel that this applicant, it should be placed on file without prejudice, and this applicant needs to move up here and be able to come back with some real facts and be able to answer our questions. However, my diatribe, sorry about it, folks, I will apologize in advance. My diatribe was all about the inconsistencies that I'm beginning to see. This group can't afford inconsistencies. Thank you.
All right. To give some transparency for something, I'm not always calling on people in the order they raise their hands. If there are people who haven't spoken as much during the meeting, I want to give them an opportunity. So next up is Ms. Reese.
Thank you. I just want to thank Alder Carter for her comments, and please don't apologize for what you shared. It's a very real concern in the city, especially when we look at the regions where people are applying and minority-owned businesses in particular. I too had concerns with the answers that were given tonight. It did give me a little uneasy feeling, but I also was encouraged hearing from Ms. Sanchez, her experience, her proximity to the location, and enthusiasm for the operation, as well as the number of people who are registered in support of the app. So with that, I trust, Alder Carter cares about the district, and it sounds like she's done her due diligence here. So I'm just happy to hear her recommendations, and I'll leave it at that.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Reese. Mr. Kano-Espina.
So I'm 100% agree with Alder Calder. I think that we do have to have consistency. My concerns were because of the answers, not because of the location. I do want a grocery store there. I think the grocery store there would be awesome. I just think that I want somebody who has experience running that type of business, that somebody that will run it safe, somebody that will answer the questions in a way that makes me feel comfortable approving that. And I want to approve something in that location to be able to serve the community 100%. And I do agree that we need to be able to have that consistency across parts of the city and across. It's just the answers today really were very, it's difficult, very difficult. So no, please don't apologize. I think that we're on the same page. I would be open to withdraw my motion and do the place on file if you feel that we can get better answers from this applicant, because you are the elder and you have had a conversation. So I'll be open to do that. It's just the answers were very concerning to me today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kano-Espina. Assistant City Attorney Zilovy, then Mr. Grady.
And to Alder Carter's point, I mean, my primary concern with, first of all, hearing those answers is doing another disservice to the neighborhood, which I feel is what the previous business did. I feel like they did a tremendous disservice to the neighborhood by having expired products for sale, just the way in which they ran their business. I think Ms. Sanchez sounds awesome. I wish she would have applied because I think she really did sound awesome. But we also can't, and we frequently do delve into, are you aware of what happened at this business before you're coming on board? Because it's good for an applicant to know what they're stepping into and maybe have an idea ahead of time, ways to change their operations so that they don't go down the same road, and just be aware of those kinds of things so that they can plan appropriately for it not to happen again. And again, my major reason for going down the road with those questions is because of, my 20 years of dealing with the Saids and the fact that the last applicant for this business was somebody who was acting as a straw party for Sharif. So that's where I come from with that. But your point is well taken, Alder Carter.
Thank you, Assistant City Attorney Zilovy. Mr. Grady.
Yes, if Mr. Kano-Espina would be willing to change his motion to make it a reference, I would certainly be willing to second that. I trust Officer or Alder Carter with her whole summation of this, and I think it's probably the best method for us to deal with. Thank you.
In the interest of avoiding irregularities, I will ask Mr. Cano Espina, would you like to withdraw your motion?
Yeah, that I'm open to that.
Mr. Grady, are you okay with the withdrawal of the motion that you seconded?
I certainly am.
Okay, so committee, would someone like to make a motion? Alder Carter, are you interested in doing
Yes, I move to place this on file without prejudice.
Okay, I see a second for Mr. Cano Espina. Any discussion? All right. Mr. Verbeek, would you do a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Revere?
Aye.
Revere, aye. Cano Espina?
Aye.
Cano Espina, aye. Reese?
Aye.
Reese, aye. Westra?
Aye.
Westra, aye. Grady?
Aye.
Grady, excuse me, Grady, aye. Carter?
Aye.
Carter, aye. Fletcher?
Aye.
Fletcher, aye. That is 6 ayes, no nos. Chair, do you wish to vote or abstain?
My vote would neither make nor break a tie, so I'm not eligible to vote.
Okay.
Assistant City Attorney Brist.
I'm just inquiring, the legal status of this application now is that it has not been rejected, it has not been approved, but it has been placed on file, which in effect is a non-consideration of this. I don't think we've stated any reasons for why we've taken the position we had. Let me ask the clerk, if this is placed on file, does the applicant have a chance? I know it means they can apply again. Is this application still alive? Can it come back at some point?
I wouldn't think so. My interpretation would be they would have to reapply. If it would come back, I would say the committee would probably have to refer it to a future meeting if that were the case.
Okay, and my question then is, did they get their money back for applying if it's placed on file?
No, because the publication fee has been paid and that we've published the notice and sent postcards, which is what the publication fee goes to paying for. So there would not be a
the
refund.
publication fee would not be refunded. Would the license fee at this point have been paid?
No, the only thing that an applicant would pay at this point is just the $100 publication fee.
Okay, so they're free to apply again, but we haven't really stated a reason why. Well, we articulated some reasons, but we didn't formally state in a motion why we're taking the action we took.
I would be happy to summarize the concerns of the commission.
I think that would be appropriate, and then to include that as part of the official reason, because you're going to have to send a letter to the applicant. The clerk is going to have to send a letter to the applicant telling them that their license was denied. We're supposed to provide reasons.
Thank you, Assistant City Attorney Brist. Alder Carter.
Yes, I wanted to place this on file because of the inconsistencies in the answers that not only was on the application, but was verbally stated at this hearing.
And I think you want to add that this is, you're for those reasons, you think this is not in the health, safety, and welfare of the community.
Correct.
At this time.
At this time, correct.
Okay, I see Mr. Cano Espina nodding. Is anyone concerned? Would anyone like to rescind their support for this item, for this motion? Great. Thank you. Let us move on then. That was item 16. Next up is item 17. Oh, we've actually got a bunch of these. Would Mr. Verbeek for items 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23, do we have people here to speak other than the applicant on any of those items?
We do. We have one for 17, and then there are 2 additional ones on 21, and that's it. The rest of them don't have any registrants other than the applicant.
Committee, would you feel all right with taking item 21, then 17, then returning to our regularly scheduled program? I see nods. So let's address item 21, new license application for Stop and Go at 2002 Winnebago Street. Do we have an applicant here to speak to us, Mr. Verbeek?
Yeah, I believe Mr. Ring is here.
David, can you tell us about your plan of business, please?
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good evening, members of the ALRC committee, alders and staff. My name is Dave Ring, the community relations manager for Quick Trip. Let me just give you a little quick background on Quick Trip. We're a family-owned business based out of La Crosse, Wisconsin. Very community-minded. We're a top workplace award winner in Madison. We give back 40% of our profits to the coworkers. We operate our own dairy, bakery, kitchen commissary, distribution center, and transportation company out of La Crosse, where we deliver products to our stores daily. We employ over 1,300 coworkers in Dane County and over 17,500 coworkers in the state of Wisconsin. Quick Trip currently owns and operates 22 stores in the city of Madison and is in the process of acquiring 6 Stop and Go stores in Madison, which we will purchase the first week of December in 2020. 3 of the Stop and Go stores will be, there's 2 of those 3 are on University Avenue. The other one on Monona Drive will be rebranded as Quick Trip stores. The other 3, those being located at Winnebago Street, Schroeder Road, and Speedway Road, will remain as Stop and Go branded stores. We will operate the stores under the same hours Stop and Go currently operates. 5 of the 6 Stop and Go's currently open either at 5 or 6 a.m. and close at either 10 or 11 p.m. They have some temporary hours in place at most of those stores, which I can certainly talk about as we get into each individual one of those. The only other store at 3401 University Avenue is the one that's only open for 24 hours. The other ones, again, are open from 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. close at 10 or 11 p.m. We will sell, obviously, groceries, hot and prepared foods, meat and bakery and dairy items. We would like to sell beer, hard cider, and wine at some of the stores. Just to give you some background, if we have a beer cave and wine liquor cabinet, they're locked, obviously, during non-sales hours. Our beer cave can be locked electronically from our communication center in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Our cash register system will not allow sales after hours in Madison before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m. Our cash registers trigger a coworker to ask for an ID from the guest when purchasing alcohol or tobacco at our stores. That coworker selling those products at the checkout register cannot proceed with a sale until the ID is scanned, and the coworker selects OK as the option for a guest who appears to be 30 years or younger. We have a very strict alcohol and tobacco sales policy, in-house compliance checks, where we have secret shoppers going through all of our stores on a frequent basis to make sure that our coworkers are not selling these age-restricted products to underage people. And there are disciplines, rewards for failed and passed compliance checks. All coworkers must complete our computer-based training and the 4-hour Learn to Serve Responsible Beverage Operator training program as well. Quick Trip has an excellent track record of passing compliance checks, as does Stop and Go. Also, our stores have extensive security and surveillance cameras located both in the interior and exterior of the store. We'll obviously be evaluating all of the Stop and Go stores and installing cameras both in the interior and exterior as necessary. We've contacted all of the city council, alders, police representatives, and neighborhood associations who have jurisdiction and oversight over the location of these 6 Stop and Go stores, as well as the new store we are building at Cottage Grove and Sprecher Roads. And appreciate the time to be before you and look forward to answering any of your questions. And I guess let me talk specifically about store 15. Item 21, I think we're talking about is 2002 Winnebago Street. I know one of the concerns that was brought forth in my conversations with the alder Rummel was the fact that the post office, which is currently located in that store, there's a number of P.O. boxes. They have a full-fledged postal service with scales, meters, where people can bring in packages, have it weighed, postage applied, etc. We have decided to terminate that contract as of December 1st of 2020 for the sole reason that Yeah, the square footage of that store is probably one of the smallest in our entire portfolio of 750 stores that we operate in Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. We need the floor space for the equipment and the products we sell. That's purely and simply the reason why we're doing it. And I did speak directly with Andy Bowman yesterday and today. He confirmed that they were also planning on terminating the contract with the U.S. Postal Service when it expired, based upon the fact that it's very labor intensive for them, that they have to have their own, we have to have our own separate coworkers. The Postal Service obviously does not provide one. So in terms of just the amount of work that's involved in bringing in the packages, placing them in the P.O. boxes, providing the service that guests expect to find at a Postal Service, just was not cost effective from his standpoint. But again, we're doing it just because of the fact that we need the floor space for our equipment and the products that our guests expect to find when they come into our stores. So, and again, in this particular store, we will be selling the same products the Stop and Go sells. Would be beer and cider or seltzer only. No hard liquor, obviously, and no wine. And the store hours currently at that location are 6 a.m. To 10 p.m. And I believe, I think that's going to, I don't think they have temporary hours. I think those are the hours that are currently in place, and we would obviously operate under those same hours going forward too.
All right. Thank you, Dave. What questions do committee members have for the applicant about item 21, 2002 Winnebago Street? Assistant City Attorney Brest.
Mr. Ring, I just wanted to ask, what is your role in the ongoing management of alcohol sales for the organization that you work for? I mean, I assume you're a full-time employee. You're not you said you're a governmental relations person or community relations person?
Correct. Community government relations. Correct. I'm not involved in the operational side. Obviously, I deal with the zone, district, and store leaders on a regular basis. But correct, I'm not day-to-day operations.
Okay, I appreciated your outline of the various protections that you have established as a corporation. But I'm wondering, it appears that you're not involved in the actual management of the stores like the agents would be, for example.
Correct. Yeah, we have extensive training. Though, just to give you kind of a brief background, we have zone leaders that oversee like 4 or 5 districts. Each district leader oversees like 14 to 18 stores. So each district leader is involved in working closely with each store leader and assistant store leader on a daily basis.
All right. Thank you.
You bet.
All right, thank you, Assistant City Attorney Brist. Mr. Grady.
Yes, it seems to me that the one store that seemed to have the most, complaints was the Winnebago store. I didn't see anything from Alter Rummel in there. Did I miss that? Did she give any type of
Mr. Verbeck
recommendation?
Alder Rummel did not submit any comments.
She said something. I saw a comment that she sent to me, and I don't know if she sent it to you guys or not. I can pull it up.
If we didn't receive it, then we don't know about it. And yeah.
I'm sorry, she did send something. Let me forward it around to everyone.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Verbeck. Alder Verveer.
Thank you. I was just seeking recognition to point out that Alderperson Rummel late today did send an email requesting referral to our next regular meeting, and the details are in that email that I'm sure is just forwarded to each of us. Thanks, Jim, for sharing that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Verbeck. Mr. Grady.
Oh.
Okay. I see Ms. Reese.
Quick question. I just wanted to clarify that at the current location now is already selling beer and cider, and this would just be a new license for the new owners.
I believe that is correct.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Reese. All right, Mr. Fletcher.
I was just going to say, Mr. Chair, if we're ready for a motion, I'm happy to make one.
I would like to give any registrants the opportunity to speak, but then you are up. Mr. Verbeek, who is registered and are they interested in speaking?
Joel Gratz is registered in opposition and would like to speak, and he is here.
Let's give Joel, go ahead.
Yes. First of all, before I kind of begin my presentation, I don't know the rules on what's required or not. As far as neighborhood meetings, I know the signs posted. I think the documentation says they may be required. I would just note that I do not believe that Quick Trip has held a neighborhood meeting on this application at all. But I'll try to be brief. I sent to all the committee members my comments on why this license should be denied. And it really focuses on the element of the closing of this community post office that's, for decades served the east side of Madison. Quick Trip indicates that they are very community minded and tells a good story here. But, this is a case where, the first, thing we should look at on whether they're truly community minded and are going to be good neighbors and good citizens is, how they have handled the existence of this resource that is used extensively by people on the east side of Madison, the post office location, and how that may reflect on, how good a job they are going to be as responsible community members in the future. And I would argue, as my letter states, that, ending the agreement to run the post office, should be a large strike against them. That's a post office that, I go in there every day because I have a P.O. box, as do about 300 other people. Every single time I'm in that store, there are people, either checking their mail, mailing packages, those kind of things. I would bet, that Quick Trip will regret this decision later, because I bet half of the traffic through that store is related to postal customers. I go in there and buy other products because of the fact that it's a post office. If Quick Trip wanted to truly be a good community member, they would not be closing down this community resource so abruptly without any community input. I do not think that reflects strongly on somebody who is asking for the privilege of getting an alcohol license. Particularly when Quick Trip is trying to, become the dominant convenience store chain in the area, as they will be once they complete this purchase. They have plenty of other locations. They have a location less than a half mile away. This was a poor community decision that they are making, and I do not think they should, be rewarded by getting a license at this location, given that poor community decision.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Verbeek, do we have any other registrants?
We don't. If I could just address what the last speaker said, and this is a statement. It's not a question to the registrant. Is that the requirement for an applicant is not to hold a neighborhood meeting? The requirement of the applicant is to hold an informational session meeting, which we have adapted in the age of COVID right now, where rather than allowing an hour in which an applicant will answer questions of someone who walks into that location in that 1 hour period, we've asked the applicants to put an email address and a phone number and a date and time where they're available to answer questions either through that email or through that phone number in that 1 hour time. There are some locations where an alder will ask an applicant to have a neighborhood meeting, but that is not a requirement by ordinance that they need to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Verbeek. Mr. Fletcher.
Mr. Chair, I would move referral.
I hear a motion. Is there a second? See a second from Ms. Reese. So motion and a second. And for anyone who hasn't had the opportunity to read the message sent forward to us by Mr. Verbeek, this is the request of Alder Rummel to refer this item. Ms. Westra.
I understand that this is a request of Alder Rummel, but I'm going to vote against this referral because the post office has nothing to do with an alcohol license. It's a business transaction, and this business is within their right to terminate that contract with the purchase of this business. We should not take that into account in granting a liquor license. Also, the liquor license is the same that the Stop and Go had previously. So the density issue, I also don't think comes into play either.
Thank you, Ms. Westra. Captain Donahue.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to echo what Ms. Westra said. I would say if I could have a post office in my neighborhood, I would be eternally grateful. So I understand that that will be a huge loss to the neighborhood, but I don't believe that we should be taking that into consideration, or that they would be necessarily punished for making that business decision, especially with the information that Mr. Ring shared, that was the direction that Stop and Go was going anyway, even if it was part of this discussion. I just want to say, as the Central District Captain, I do have a fair amount of experience, not in the Central District, but in previous assignments working with Quick Trip during their acquisition of PDQ and opening some other stores. And I do feel that they were community oriented. They were very gracious in some of the neighborhoods that in the district where I worked, by providing donations to neighborhood meetings and being part of the discussions, making sure that their properties were well maintained, well managed, doing things that we would ask of them related to crime reduction and cooperation with the police department if that's necessary. I do understand the loss to the neighborhood and understand that that's a great loss, but at the same time, I don't want to not recognize them. Certainly there has been some struggles, and I think Mr. Ring would acknowledge there's been some struggles moving to a market that was a little bit different than what they had been a part of previously. But I don't have any concerns with Quick Trip maintaining a license at this address, and feel like it would be a partnership that they would be willing to work with the police department, and we would be willing to work with them. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Captain Donahue. Ms. Reese.
My support of the motion is based on the number of responses that we've gotten from the community and from the Alder. And in this age of COVID, it seems fair to allow some more time for that neighborhood to get on the same page, which seems to be good for Quick Trip. So no, I'm new here, but just wanted to share my support, the reason for my support.
Thank you, Ms. Reese. Alder Carter.
You're muted, Alder.
Am I muted?
You're good now.
I'm good. Okay. Well, now I'll make it short because I used up all my words when it was muted. Let me just say that I think that if the Alder is requesting to have a neighborhood meeting, I think that's fine. We should refer it to the next meeting. However, the neighborhood meeting should not try to indicate that the post office could stay, because I agree with Commissioner Amy that this is totally a separate issue. but having a neighborhood meeting is fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder Carter. Mr. Kano Espina.
Yeah, I'm in support of the motion. I think that it's important to allow the community the ability to have a meeting with the alder. But again, just for the people who are watching this, the application as it stands is something that I would approve without a post office. Just looking at the liquor license, it is a fine application with a business that is able to run it correctly. So, but yes, community should have input.
Thank you, Mr. Kano Espina. Mr. Fletcher.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. And I should be clear as well that for my liking, that the post office discussion is an important discussion to have outside of the four corners of what is typically this committee's purview. I think my motion was based on the various correspondence this committee's received and the final sentence in the alder's email about the alcohol issues. I agree with Ms. Westra's statements about the post office. I think I respectfully disagree when it comes to the ability or the consideration of the community with respect to the alcohol density issues. If they want another month to talk about that with the alder, I think this committee's typical practice has been to defer, and I think we continue that practice. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Verbeek, will you please call the roll?
Alder Revere.
Aye.
Alder Revere, aye. Kano Espina.
Aye.
Kano Espina, aye. Reese.
Aye.
Reese, aye. Westra.
No.
Westra, no. Grady.
Aye.
Grady, aye. Alder Carter.
Aye.
Alder Carter, aye. Fletcher.
Aye.
Fletcher, aye. That is 6 ayes, no nos, Mr. Chair.
There was a no.
Yep, 6 ayes, 1 no.
Okay, great. So motion passes. Item 21 is referred to the next regularly scheduled meeting of the ALRC. Next up, I have forgotten which one it was that also.
I think you wanted to do 17 was the next one.
Thank you. Item 17.
We have obviously applicants here. There is a registration wishing to speak. However, I don't see that person here, but we do also have the Alder Lemmer is here.
Sure. Let's first hear from the applicant again, if he has anything specific to 6525 Kilpatrick Lane, and then from Alder Lemmer.
Thank you very much, Dave Ring again with Quick Trip. Just want to thank Alder Lemmer and the North Star Neighborhood Association, Sprecher East Neighborhood Association, and Richmond Hill Homeowners Association. We met in 2019, March 7th, in September of 2019 as well, outlined the store design, made changes based on the recommendations. The store will be open 24 hours. The car wash will only be open from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. per their wishes. The store is scheduled to open December 31st of this year. We're asking to sell beer, wine, and cider. And I want to thank Captain Nelson, we've had discussions with, and Alder Lemmer as well. So I certainly have opened any questions.
And thank you. Alder Lemmer.
Okay, now I'm unmuted. Thank you so much. I am supportive of this application, and I would encourage you to approve it. As was mentioned, Captain Nelson, had no concerns about this application. The community has provided positive feedback about Quick Trip being at this location. Quick Trip held several community meetings, and the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. the only bit of additional feedback was that they would like the no hard liquor restriction, which is on the application. So I appreciate that. And that's just because there is a liquor store across the street from this future location that has been a really good community partner, and they want to make sure that they don't lose any business. Like I said, I encourage you to support this application. The neighborhood is supportive, and Quick Trip has been responsive and great to work with. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Alder Lermer. And Mr. Verbeek, did you say that there was a registrant who was not present?
I did. Daniel Nordstrom registered in opposition, wishing to speak, but I do not see him in the attendees of this meeting.
All right, thank you. Mr. Kano-Espina.
I just had a question. Is that a restriction on the hard liquor, or they're not asking for hard liquor, so we don't need to have a restriction? Alder.
Yeah, it's listed on the front of their application that they're agreeing to a restriction of no hard liquor.
So presumably it's a Class A beer and liquor, but they're restricting it so they can only sell wine.
Right.
To remind the committee, there's an ordinance for the city of Madison that restricts businesses that sell motor fuel from selling spirits.
Right, that was my thinking. So if there's nobody else, I just wanted to make a motion, but I was not thinking about putting a restriction, just move to approve.
I hear a motion from Mr. Kano-Espina, a second from Mr. Grady. Alder Verveer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I certainly support the motion to grant and thank my colleague, Alderperson Lemmer, for being with us the entire meeting. I already thanked her in a text message for hanging in there with us. I do suggest strongly, though, that we continue with our past precedents of notwithstanding the ordinance, which I was the sponsor of, that prohibits the sale of spirits if there are gas pumps present, that we continue our tradition of adding the condition that the Class A liquor license is limited to wine only. So again, as Mr. Verbeek well knows, the condition routinely is worded Class A liquor license is limited to wine only. And I know that condition will be discussed in some of these other Quick Trip applications as well, that we still have to consider.
I see a thumbs up from Mr. Kano-Espina, and do I see one from Mr. Grady? Okay. And for informative purposes, there's value to this beyond tradition. I see two key values. The first is by having it written on the license, it makes it very clear to the license holder. It makes it clear to liquor distributors who are working with them, and reduces the opportunity for any sort of error. I don't think that is remotely likely with Quick Trip given the scale of their operation, but better safe than sorry. The second value to having this on a license is if someone violates this, they are not only violating the ordinance, they are also violating the terms of their liquor license, which provides opportunity for this body to take action more easily. Alder Verveer.
Thanks. I couldn't agree with you more. Thanks for illustrating why the condition is important. I thought I'd just also take another moment to educate any of members of the community that might be watching us tonight to let them know that, and Mr. Ring obviously knows this because he deals with it day in and day out, the applicant, but Chapter 125 of the state statutes does not have allowance for anything like a Class A wine license like they do for restaurants with the Class C wine license, which we discussed briefly with the Wonder State coffee application earlier in our agenda. So the reason why we have to do this and and is simply because the state law doesn't allow applicants to apply for anything like a Class A wine license. It's Class A beer and then Class A liquor. And as we're doing here, we always would limit the Class A liquor license to wine only if it is a gas station as well, convenience store. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Alder Verveer. So we have a motion to approve item 17, new license for Quick Trip at 6525 Kilpatrick, with the condition that the license cannot be used for hard liquor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please remain silent. And those opposed, raise your hand or make some noise. I see no opposition, so item 25 is granted. I need to step out for a minute. Mr. Fletcher, can you take the gavel, please?
I can do. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So that takes us back, correct me if I am wrong, to item 18 on our agenda. That's the Quick Trip application for 4624 Monona Drive. Mr. Ring, do you want to, is there anything you'd like to discuss about this particular application?
Yes, thanks, Alder Fletcher. Just a quick comment. We would, as I said, maintain the same hours of operation, 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. The temporary hours, and speaking with Mr. Bowman from Stop and Go, are 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. And obviously, we'll honor that going forward, depending upon the COVID situation. Just asking again for a Class A beer and Class A liquor. It would be cider and wine. We had a nice conversation with Captain Friedman from the Madison Police Department, and I'm trying to think if I think this will be this will be a store that we will rebrand from a Stop and Go to a Quick Trip. So I think that covers it.
And question. Thank you very much. Are there questions from the committee? Mr. Cano Espina.
Mr. Chair, and also for the clerk, are there any other people wishing to speak in any of the other Quick Trips applications?
There are not.
Would the committee be okay on having them all at once, or do we need to look each one separate?
What is the committee's, is there any objection from the committee for doing that? Alder Verveer, I see your hand is up.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Yeah, I would advise against that because there are different conditions for different applications relating to Quick Trip, as Mr. Ring is aware. So some would have no conditions. Alderperson Bidar has requested a condition that we need to deal with. The one that's before us on Monona Drive requires a condition, but many of the others do not require conditions. So I think it would be more efficient if we just do them one by one quickly.
That sounds good. Jim, has Alder Foster left any comments for the committee, or is he on the line?
No, I don't believe Alder Foster is here, and I have not received anything from Alder Foster on this item, I believe.
If I could interject, Mr. Foster, actually Alderperson Foster, is giving him a promotion because I don't think that being an alder is all that exciting, frankly, for compared to many of your lives. In any event, my colleague Alderperson Foster did, as a reminder to my colleagues here, did include one sentence in his request to referral agenda item 12, one more month. There was a second paragraph that stated he had no objection to the granting of this license on Monona Drive.
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you for that reminder, Alder Verveer. With no questions for the applicant, is there a motion on agenda item 18?
Well, I can just go ahead. I don't want to.
Yeah, go ahead, Alder Verveer.
Just jump in because I see that Mr. Cano Espina has his hand up too. So I would move to grant with the condition that the Class A liquor license is limited to wine only.
Is there a second, Mr. Cano Espina? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor indicate.
If I could just, I just want to say the applicant did ask about selling wine and cider on the Class A liquor license. And the cider would not be covered under the Class A beer. It would have to be covered under the Class A liquor license.
Thank you for pointing that out. So I would happily add cider and wine only, which is why there's not a separate cider application here like there is for the Class A beer license applications only.
Thank you, Mr. Cano-Espino. I saw you considering that friendly. So any discussion on the motion? Seeing no hands raised, all those in favor indicate by remaining silent in the words of the chair. And seeing none, I think that is unanimously approved. And Mr. Chair, I'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Which item or items were just approved?
18, we're doing these individually.
All right, so that was item 18. On to item 19, Quick Trip at 3401 University Avenue. Committee, what's your pleasure? Mr. Verbeek, do we have any speakers or correspondence on this item?
We do not.
Mr. Fletcher.
Chair, is there anything the applicant wishes to just mention to the committee about item 19?
Dave?
Yeah, just I guess reiterating, this store is currently open 24 hours. We would still keep it open 24 hours. It will be rebranded for Stop and Go to a Quick Trip store. And yeah, asking for a Class A beer license and then Class A liquor to sell cider and wine only.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Any discussion or motions?
Move to approve.
Your motion from Alder Carter, second from Mr. Grady. Any discussion?
I just asked if that's to add the condition about limiting the Class A liquor to cider and wine only.
Yes.
Alder Verveer.
That's why I sought recognition to confirm the condition. Thank you.
Excellent. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of granting license for Quick Trip at 3401 University with conditions indicate by remaining silent. Got on a roll there for a second. Any opposed, raise your hand or make some noise. Seeing no opposition, item 19 passes. Item 20, Quick Trip at 5445 University Avenue. Dave, anything special about this one?
Just quick, the hours currently are 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. I know with COVID, they've moved it up to start open at 6 a.m. and close at 10 p.m. So we would certainly get honor those hours depending upon the COVID situation. Again, spoke with Captain Friedman, had good conversations. I don't think I'm not speaking. He had any objections. I certainly don't want to speak for him. And then again, we would just be applying for a Class A beer, and Class A liquor would just, I believe, just be cider only. Maybe Jim could confirm that too.
Yeah, it's applied for a Class A beer, Class A cider license, so it would just be beer and cider.
Okay, Mr. Verbeek, any registrants or correspondence?
Just Mr. Ring.
Okay. Committee, what's your pleasure?
Move approval. With the condition.
Ms. Vestra moves approval with, I assume, the same conditions as the last several. Mr. Cano-Espino seconds. Alder Verveer.
This item would actually not need conditions.
Require any conditions because
it's a Class A beer, Class A cider. It's not a Class A liquor license.
Oh, even easier. Was that your comment as well, Alder Verveer?
Yes, absolutely consistent.
Thank you.
Who was the second on that one?
Mr. Cano-Espino. Any further discussion of item 205445 University? Seeing none, all in favor remain silent. Those opposed, raise your hand. Seeing no opposition, item 20 is granted. Item 22, stop and go at 6202 Schrader Road. Dave, anything about this?
Yeah, just again, hours of operation currently 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. Temporary hours are 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Certainly would honor that as well. I left a message for Captain Patton to reach out to him. I was not able to connect with him. And I did, trying to forgive me, did reach out to Alder Furman, and he indicated he did not have any concerns directly to me via email. And again, we'll just be asking for Class A beer, and just cider only.
Thank you. Any questions? Do I hear a motion?
Move to grant.
Hear a motion to grant from Alder Carter, second from Mr. Fletcher. Any discussion? All in favor of granting item 22, stop and go at 6202 Schrader Road, indicate by remaining silent. Those opposed, raise your hand or say so. Seeing no opposition, item 22 is granted. And item 23, new license for stop and go at 3734 Speedway Road. Dave, tell us about this one, please.
Sure. Thanks very much. Again, hours of operations currently 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Temporary COVID operations 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., which we would certainly honor. Asking for the beer and cider only. I can have Jim confirm that as well. Did have a very positive conversation with Captain Friedman and a very good conversation with Alder Bedar, which I know she's got some restriction that she wanted to apply to the license.
Okay, Mr. Fletcher.
Yeah, I was just actually, Mr. Ring, going to mention, the language I think would be to limit the sale of single bottles and cans in quantities under 25 ounces, if I read the correspondence correctly. Is that your understanding as well?
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Alder Revere.
Thank you. I wanted to ask Mr. Ring to just confirm that one more time. I was a little confused by Alderperson Bidar's recommendation in that when I compared that language to the language in the Quick Trip alcohol license on Monroe Street, where some of, again, my colleagues that were here at the time will remember this being debated a fair amount. One of the several conditions used the language about 25 ounces, but it was over 25 ounces.
Yeah, I think, Alder Revere, I think our understanding was that single serves that we would sell anything 25 ounces or less, not anything over. I think that was our understanding.
Could you repeat that one more time, please, Mr. Ring?
Sure. Yeah, our understanding was that we could sell single serves 25 ounces or less, nothing above that. That was my understanding, and that in the conversation in the email, I believe, with Alder Bedar.
Yes, and that is consistent with what your organization requested and we granted when Monroe Street opened.
Correct.
The way Alderperson Bidar stated in her email, and then Mr. Verbeck asked her to clarify, and she confirmed it one more time. She had it the other way around.
Oh, okay.
You're quite convinced it was to deal with the issue of 40 ounces. So
correct. That was our understanding, right?
Mr. Verbeck, do you want to weigh in on this? Because you were a little confused, it seemed, in an email that I saw, and you asked Alderperson Bidar specifically to clarify.
Yeah, my understanding was that Alder Bedar want to limit the single sales to to no sales of single serve bottles or cans larger than 25 ounces in size was my understanding of what her intention was.
Okay, so we're all on the same page.
Yeah,
Then
I would agree.
So, and I don't know how many of you are looking at the email in Legistar right now, but it's unclear. Then there was another email that I think the whole committee received where it's worded, limit the sale of single bottles, cans, in quantities under 25 ounces.
Yeah, my understanding too is it was going to be 25 ounces or less. Alder Revere, just as you said, it was consistent with previous liquor license restrictions on Monroe Street, and I believe with Alder Carter, we'd agreed to do that on the Broadway stores where we acquired the PDQ, had the same restrictions as well.
So it should actually read, just so we're clear, prohibit the sale of single bottles and cans in quantities greater than 25 ounces.
Right. Yeah, that's a better way probably to put it. Yeah. So that we could sell 25 or 25 ounces or less, but the way you phrase it is accurate. Correct.
Which is what you do, I know, on Monroe Street.
Right.
Which was discussed, as I said, at length when that store opened.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I prepared to make a motion, but I see Mr. Cano-Espina has his hand raised, so I won't.
Mr. Cano-Espina, did you have a question for the applicant?
It was just clarifying, 25 or less, I think is what she's saying, 25 or less. So it's the same thing, it's just put in different ways. So whatever you feel comfortable saying, she's just saying less than 25 is okay with her.
Cool. Well, Alder Revere, go ahead and say it.
Okay. Well, then I move to grant with the condition that the sale of single bottles and cans in quantities greater than 25 ounces is prohibited.
Here, motion. Is there a second? Mr. Fletcher, any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor indicate by remaining silent. Those opposed, raise your hand or make some noise. Hearing no opposition, item 25 is granted. Or sorry, item 23.
Was that Mr. Fletcher was the second on that?
Correct. So item 3, stop and go at 3734 Speedway Road is granted. All right, so item 24. I've been thinking a lot about this one, and what I'd like to request is, Alder Revere, did you have a question? Or is your hand still up from before?
No, it's a new one. And I don't know if Mr. Ring is still with us or not, but I just wanted to confirm, given Mr. Verbeck's helpful reminder about the cider statute, which is somewhat relatively new to me because I've been on this committee well before the legislature included that separate license. I just want to confirm, because we might have to move reconsideration on the first, well, it was really technically the second item because we handled Winnebago Street first, but on agenda item number 17 on Patrick Lane, was that motion correct, Mr. Verbeck? Could I just inquire, was that condition Class A liquor license is limited to wine only, or did we catch cider in that one?
I think the motion was for wine only. The motion did not include cider.
Mr. Chair, I think we should formally quickly move to reconsider.
Of course, I hear a motion to reconsider. Is it only item 17?
Correct.
Okay, motion to reconsider item 17 from Alder Revere, second from Mr. Cano-Espina. All in favor of the motion to for people who are newer to Robert's rules, motion to reconsider means that we will take an item that we voted on tonight and reopen it for voting again. There are rules about who's allowed to make the motion and numbers around it, but I'm not worried about whether people are going to approve in this case. So all in favor of reconsideration of item 17, Mr. remain silent. Opposed, raise your hand or make some noise. Reconsideration of item 17 passes. The floor is still yours, Alder Verveer.
Thank you. No apologies that we have to go through this. I take responsibility for it. So I would move to grant the Class A beer, Class A liquor license for agenda item number 17 with the condition that the Class A liquor license is limited to cider and wine only.
Hear a motion. I see a second from Mr. Cano-Espina. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of granting item 17, Quick Trip at 6525 Kilpatrick Lane with the condition that the Class A beer and liquor license only be used for beer, wine, and cider and not other hard liquor, indicate by remaining silent. Opposed, raise your hand. I see no opposition. Motion on number 17, passes. Anything else we're missing? Cool. All right.
I just want to thank the members of the committee very much for your time and consideration.
Sure. Thank you for being so prepared.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay. So I don't remember how much we've talked before about item 24. During the now almost a year ago equity analysis that Mr. Fletcher and I did with some members of city staff, we discussed adding a mechanism for allowing operators license applicants to come before the committee or a subcommittee at a time of the month that was not in the evening when many service employees work and not as high profile as these meetings. I am concerned about two things. One, that now is not a particularly good time to initiate new process that will place additional burden on city staff. And second, that things are so weird right now that we won't get any quick feedback on whether the process is effective and useful. In light of that, I request that someone move to refer this to the May meeting of the Alcohol License Review Committee.
Move referral to the May meeting of the ALRC.
Motion from Alder Carter, second from Mr. Cano-Espina. Any discussion? Ms. Reese.
I haven't gone through with a fine-tooth comb this yet. Was that the only issue in the report that is relevant for right now, or are there other pieces of that we could be working on?
There were several other pieces, and Mr. Fletcher can absolutely correct me if I'm forgetting anything. A number of them were administrative processes that people in the clerk's office were able to address. In fact, when we had our second of the 3 meetings about it, they had already addressed several things we'd identified in the first meeting because the Madison City Clerk's office is awesome.
Thanks.
Mr. Cano-Espina.
I just wanted to say thank you for the thought and the planning. I think that there are so many things happening now that it will be better to do it methodically and wait into March. So I appreciate. I know that we want to make this happen, and I completely agree with the sentiment of trying to do something that is more inclusive. But at this time, it just really doesn't make sense. We may be thinking that it's a good idea, and actually we could be making it worse for people. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cano-Espina. Any further discussion of item 24? Hearing none, all in favor of Alder Carter's motion to refer this to the May 2021 meeting of the ALRC, indicate by doing nothing. Opposed, raise your hand. Excellent. Item 24 passes. Item 25, report of Madison Police Department. Captain Donahue, do you have anything of note you'd like to report?
I do not. Thank you.
Committee, do you have any questions for Captain Donahue? All right, moving along. Item 26, report of the city clerk's office. Mr. Verbeek, do you have anything of note that you would like to report?
I have nothing to add. Available to answer questions.
Committee, any questions for Mr. Verbeek?
I have a question. Yeah, there were several businesses on that was listed that haven't picked up their license, and it's been a while. So what's the next step on that?
Yeah, I do need to follow up on that list. I have not kept up with as best as I could in letting them, in giving them a deadline to either extend their granting or essentially surrender the license. So I'll have to send one out. Looks like we have quite a few that are on there that need to get it going or ask for an extension.
Are some of them waiting for like zoning and building inspection to sign off? I'm just wondering. I'm not trying to say you need to rush tomorrow and start going down the list, but I'm just trying to figure out why they're still there.
Really, all of them do, except Tudo Pasta is the only one that has passed all their inspections, and it's just fees that need to be paid. But all of them have at least one sort of inspection or review that needs to be completed.
That needs to be completed. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I actually have Ms. Westron.
Do we have any current renewed liquor licenses that haven't been paid for or picked up? I know we had that list at the beginning of the year and it kind of went down, but I was wondering if there was still an outstanding list of businesses who do not have a legal liquor license.
I believe we do. Let me look that up real quick. Sorry, my system is being very slow right now.
It's because we're all watching you.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Is anybody else feeling really suspenseful at this point?
I'm feeling empathetic from my earlier pause I put everyone on.
We need the Jeopardy music.
Yeah. Let's see.
What I wonder when I'm doing something like this and it's taking the computer a long time is the computer always slow and I'm more patient when nobody's watching?
All right.
We studied that phenomenon.
So I'm seeing 37 invoices that need to be paid. There are multiple licenses in some of these invoices. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. I see about 40, although I did see in there a couple that I know aren't in business anymore. Like I see Hopcat on there. I saw Visions. And those are really the only ones that jump out to me as knowing that they don't license. So my guess is to be about 37, 38 licenses that have not renewed yet.
Ms. Westra, did you have further questions along that line?
No, I think it would be nice if we could get a report of that every month, like we get with the not picked up licenses, just because I don't want to get into another place where we were with like Heritage.
That's a really good idea. Captain Dottie.
And if you want to send those to me, the most updated list, I can send them out again and ask for people to do a little check.
Excellent. Thank you, Captain Donahue. Any further questions for Mr. Verbeck? All right, seeing none. Next item is adjournment. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Mr. Fletcher, second from Mr. Cano Espina. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed have the same privilege. Motion passes. ALRC is adjourned at 8:59 p.m. We made it in before 9. Thank you, everybody, and good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.